Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's Chicago Board of Education meeting. Today is April 24th, 2019. We're holding today's meeting in the boardroom at 42 West Madison Street. I'm Frank Clark, and on behalf of my fellow board members, I want to thank you all for coming today. Our order of business will be first honoring excellence, followed by the CEO report, then public participation. We will then go into executive session, and after that, we'll come back and start the voting process. As always, I want to remind everyone that courteous behavior is very much desired and absolutely expected. Madam Secretary, please lead us in the pledge.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please rise. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The regular meeting of Wednesday, April 24th, 2019 is hereby called to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Member Furlong?
Present.
Member Garza?
Present.
Vice President Guzman?
Present.
Member Hines?
Present.
Member Ward?
Present.
Member Goolsby?
Present.
President Clark?
Present.
7 members present. We have a quorum, and I would also like to recognize Dr. Janice Jackson, our CEO, Joseph Moriarty, our General Counsel, Latanya McDade, our Chief Education Officer, and Mary Bradley, the Executive Director of Innovation and Incubation, and Aisha Ahmed, our Honorary Student Board Member. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we or don't we have a new shadow board member?
She was expected to be here, Mr. President, but at the time she has not arrived. So if she does happen to come in, I will interject and introduce her at that time, if I may.
Okay. In that case, Chief McDade, you want to proceed with honor and excellence.
Good morning. Good morning. Well, you guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good morning. We begin each Board of Education meeting by recognizing the talents and accomplishments of our students and school communities. Today, we will begin with 2 schools that were incredibly impressive at this year's Louder Than a Bomb Poetry Slam, which featured more than 1,000 poets and is the largest youth poetry festival in the world. For nearly 20 years, this annual event has given youth from around Chicago the opportunity to share their personal stories and listen to the voices of students from other parts of the city that they might not otherwise hear. The team from Crane Medical Prep placed 4th in this year's competition, and students from Gwendolyn Brooks took home the top prize. I applaud these students for their creativity, but also for their courage to share their thoughts and feelings in such a public way. Please join me in welcoming a few of the CPS student winners from Louder Than a Bomb. From Crane Medical Prep, we have Tayshawn Levy, Edris Chavez, Jonquil McCray, Michelle Mariano, Angelica Guzman, and Tyrell Mack, and they are joined by their teacher, Jesse Spieth. We have a representative?
Who's going to speak?
Right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Demetrius Amparan. I've been a part of Young Chicago Authors and Louder Than a Bomb since I was about 16 years old. I look young, but that's about 13 years. When everything around me was falling down, Young Chicago Authors provided me with a platform to speak and an audience to listen. And sometimes that's all a young person needs to realize the power in their voices and the strength in their words. National Youth Poet Laureate Patricia Frazier once said, "A more equitable world is sitting somewhere at the crease of my lip." And the reality is not every young person will have an opportunity to realize the power in their voices. Young Chicago Authors exists to be a counter-narrative to anything that impedes youth voice and to provide a platform for thousands of young people across the city of Chicago. And so I just sincerely want to thank you all as a representative of Young Chicago Authors for honoring Crane Medical College Prep and their teacher, Jesse Speth, and also Kristen Plunkett and the team from Gwendolyn Brooks. I'm going to now pass the mic over whenever appropriate to one of our team members.
All right. And representing Brooks Academy, the top prize winners are Ariana Hinton, Dawan Butler, Jerome Kelly, Anaya Frazier, Devon Myers, Amaris Edwards, Marilyn Carrolls, Jakia Hobbs, and they're joined by their teachers who are also their coaches, Kennedy Harris, Ari Appleberry, and Kristen Plunkett. Before we have a speaker representing Brooks, I also want to add that Demetrius from Young Chicago Authors, this is also the organization, for those of you who don't know, that created Louder Than the Bomb. So thank you so much for bringing about this opportunity for all of our young people.
Thank you.
All right. Who's speaking from Brooks? Is it Jerome?
Yeah, I would like to introduce Tashawn Levi first.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tashawn Levi. I attend the Richard Taylor Crane Medical Preparatory Magnet High School, Chicago. I'm a part of a team called Poetic Deviants. I've been a part of LTAB for 2 years now, and just the impact that it's had on me and my team and the community is just astonishing to me. Coming into high school, I never was a person to speak up, and because in situations, students are often silenced in talking about anything political or anything social justices just because they think it doesn't affect us as much. So I really respect YCA and LTAB for allowing us to speak and providing us with a platform to speak for ourselves and actually put out what we want to say. And I feel like even if you don't want to be a writer or a poet, it still just encourages you to do whatever you want to do. And I really respect that. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I want to introduce Jerome Kelly.
Hi, my name is Jerome. I'm a poet from Gwendolyn Brooks, and I'm representing this family called Lyrically Explicit. Yeah. And my experience in LTAB, I've been on the LTAB team all 4 years I've been in high school, and it's just been tremendous growth, honestly. Building with these people, this community. LTAB goes so far beyond slam, beyond competition. Like, I've made lifelong friendships, built family, built connections, and had so many opportunities afforded to me because of not only LTAB, but YCA and working with the organization. These wonderful people I've been by for 4 years, a lot of them. And honestly, I can attribute a lot of growth, not only to them, but to the teaching artists, to mentors like Dimitri. It's like so much that goes on in YCA that has, helped me grow not only as an artist, but a person. YCA introduced me to Safe Space. YCA gave me the opportunity to perform at auditorium theater. Like, things like that go so far. And a lot of youth have things to say, and LTAB has been that space for me and given us a platform to speak up about things that aren't particularly okay, that aren't exactly table talk, that honestly get pushed aside because we are young and a lot of people don't respect our voices. And LTAB has shown me like so much as far as like community. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Chief Medega, are there any other speakers?
From this group? No, that
Okay.
completes.
Just hold for a moment. Board members, comments? Yes, go ahead.
Yes, first of all, I want to congratulate you all, and it was wonderful to hear all of your voices this morning. But nothing's more satisfying to me as a board member, and I'm sure with my other board members and your principals and your directors, to hear you talk about your voice and what it means, and to hear you talk about learning the way that you have. It's such a joy to hear from your voices. Thank you.
I can only concur with those comments. I'm always just amazed when I see people so young, the two of you that spoke, representing the group as a whole, so clear, so articulate, frankly, so informed. Very impressive. You have a lot to be proud of. I just continue in your personal and professional and education careers to continue doing well, and you will do well in life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and congratulations again. Moving to a different type of spoken word, it is now my pleasure to congratulate Solario High School on the splash they made in the debate world this year. Last month, we told you about Mr. Connor Cameron, who recently received the inaugural Coach of the Year award from the National Association from Urban Debate Leagues. Well, it turns out this was only the beginning for Solorio. Mr. Victor Iturralde has now been named the 2019 Debate Principal of the Year, and Solorio student Calvin Castro achieved the title of Debater of the Year of 2019, along with his teammate Amado Catalerio. Calvin also won the city championship for varsity debate. So it's clear that there is a debate dynasty going on at Solorio High School. Please join me in congratulating some of the leaders and students who have been the driving force behind this success.
Thank you. Good morning. I want to thank all of you that have come out, Gail Ward, Jaime Guzman, Dr. Jackson most recently. I invite the rest of you to come out to Solorio, stop by when you're in a neighborhood. It's my honor and pleasure to receive this award from the Chicago Debate League. It was mentioned to me that Dr. Jackson was a previous recipient of it, so that's a really big deal. Debate has played a very important part in the success at Solorio High School. It's benefited the schools in so many different ways. And thanks to our extraordinary debate coach, Connor Cameron, this year's National Urban Debate Coach of the Year, we've been able to support our debaters entering some of the toughest debate circuits in the country. And we've also invested in our student debaters by sending them to summer debate camps all over the country, including Indiana University, Michigan State, University of Texas, Minnesota, Northwestern, Stanford, Dartmouth, and Gonzaga, on and on. And so the Chicago Debate League has been a tremendous partner, and our students are incredible, as you're going to hear in a moment. And they're amazingly talented students. And so we also have these incredibly talented and well-trained teachers at Solorio. And several of them are graduates of the AUSL's Chicago Teacher Residency Program. And in fact, we hired over 30 graduates from the residency program. Connor Cameron, just so happens, was a graduate. Golden Apple winner Greta Kringle is also a graduate of the residency program, and several others. And so I want to dedicate this award to the hardworking entire staff of Solorio Academy High School for day in, day out, putting in such a strong effort to ensuring that all of our students receive the best education that's possible. Thank you for your support of Solorio High School and for all you do for supporting all of the other neighborhood high schools. We do have an overcrowding problem, and we appreciate all of the support that we've received from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else going to speak?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Kelvin Castro. Such a great honor to be speaking here as a city champion and as well as Debater of the Year. Having come here last year, I want to thank the board for once again talking to us and hearing our voices. As a kid who started off ninth grade being very introverted and not very spoken, debate, very cliche-like, has helped me find my voice and helped me define my own self and how I identify as a student and as a person. As a person of color, I think it's very important to emphasize the ability of debate in order to impact the youth. Coming from the southwest side in Gage Park, debate is really an activity on its own that pushes students to learn better advocacy skills, research skills, all things valuable that are key to helping them in education, as well as being a self-advocate outside of school. With my partner, I would like to ask the board to continue supporting the Chicago Debate League with its continuing and ongoing support. Every year, the statistics of how many new neighborhood schools are becoming debate schools is increasing every time, and that's such a great statistic to hear, to think about all the students who are being impacted. And for myself, I have been able to get into Emory University, and I would like to thank Jaime Guzman for being such a great help there in the college selection process personally, and as well as everyone else in the board, such as Dr. Jackson, who has come to Soloria to congratulate us.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us. My name is Amado Candelario. As my high school years come to an end, debate has assisted me throughout the entire way. Being recognized here today is an amazing honor that I'm grateful to have. Thankfully, because of all the hard work, as Calvin already mentioned, I will be attending Harvard University in the fall, and he Emory. Now, I say this to not establish prestige, but to show that this activity truly changes lives for the better. Therefore, I ask you to continue to support this program, as for many students in underinvested communities across the south side of Chicago, it is not only educationally transformative, but it is life-changing. Finally, I'd like to say thank you for having us today once again, and to also note that this victory is not only for us to celebrate, but it's also for the immigrant parents who had their wings cut off but still taught their children how to fly. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comment, board members?
I mean, I just want to say I'm just really proud of both of you. I've gotten a chance to go out to Soloria a couple times. I've met both of you. I've gotten to know Kelvin a little bit more, and I know that your accomplishments come from a lot of hard work. I think Principal Iturralde rightly points out the support from a lot of the teachers at the school that help support you all, but a lot of it is your own hard work, and I just want to congratulate you all for doing that and all of your accomplishments, and still many more to come.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to also congratulate Castro and Armando on your great achievement. I know what it's like to be involved in debate. I wasn't a debater, but I hosted debate many times, and I know the long hours and the great passion in learning that goes along with it. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to mention Principal Victor. We have had some conversations initiated by you about ways to help students distinguish themselves in some special way at your school. And it's so nice that you have done that, and it's given us the opportunity to also honor you and what you've done for Solorio and since its beginnings. So congratulations to all of you.
About 50 plus years ago, I too participated in debate. It worked out okay. Congratulations, okay?
Finally, I am thrilled to welcome the 5 CPS educators who were recipients of the prestigious 2019 Golden Apple Awards. 4 of them for excellence in teaching and 1 for excellence in leadership. Each of these outstanding educators will have the opportunity to speak in a few moments, so please hold your applause until the end. We will begin with Greta Kringle, a science teacher at Solorio High School. Solorio continues to be on a roll at today's board meeting. Greta's expertise and passion energizes her students with engaging hands-on learning experiences. She is preparing them to succeed in college and exposing them to potential futures in the STEM fields, which are the fastest growing careers in the economy today. Then there's Leticia Regoza from Phoenix Military Academy, who is broadening the knowledge and cultural horizon of her students as a Spanish teacher. By introducing them to another language, Leticia is teaching her students an invaluable skill that will prepare them for a global 21st century tomorrow. Next, I am proud to recognize Erin Unander, a math teacher at Lakeview High School. Erin is preparing her students for success by making math relatable to their everyday lives and teaching them that while math may be challenging, their abilities will improve with hard work. Finally, I am pleased to recognize Angela Young from Southside Occupational Academy. Angela plays a unique role in CPS, helping our diverse learners transition from high school to rich, fulfilling, independent lives after they complete their time at Southside Occupational. Angela believes in the potential of every student and does not allow the challenges they face to dictate the expectations that she has for them and for their futures. I want to thank Angela, Erin, Leticia, and Greta for their service and congratulate you all on receiving the coveted Golden Apple Award for Excellence in Teaching. 550 150 teachers across 71 Illinois counties were nominated for this award, and 4 of the winners came from Chicago Public Schools. This is something we should all be proud of as a district, as is the fact that the Golden Apple Excellence in Leadership Award also went to a CPS educator. The educator is Principal Joshua Long of Southside Occupational Academy, which, as we just mentioned, also had a Golden Apple winning teacher in 2019. Principal Long was unable to join us this morning, but we hope to honor him at a later date. Please join me in congratulating all of our district's exceptional Golden Apple recipients.
Good morning. First, we'd like to thank the board for inviting us here today, and I'd like to thank my mom and dad for being here.
Good morning, all. We just wanted to say that we are extremely proud to represent Chicago Public Schools and now the Golden Apple Academy.
Good morning. Thank you all for having us here and celebrating with us, because this truly has been a journey thus far, and we're looking forward to the continued journey as we go along with the Golden Apple Fellows and CPS. And Dr. Jackson, thank you again, because I enjoyed having your visit at Southside Occupational Academy and allowing us to continue to make sure that the lives of young people is not only rich, but it's flavorful.
I would just like to say that we're really excited to continue this work with the Golden Apple Foundation, and particularly the Golden Apple Scholars Program, working with the next generation of young people who will enter our schools as teachers. So we get to serve as mentors for them. And I guess my ask of you all, I think I'm here today at least because I have been at a well-resourced school where we have mentoring and coaching and basically everything that we need to make sure that our students and staff are happy and successful. So please continue to make sure that all of our CPS schools are places where teachers want to continue to be and work and grow.
Thank you very much. Board members, questions, comments? Go ahead.
I just want to say congratulations, I'm Horace, to each one of you. Being a former teacher, it just makes me so proud to see you standing there, because you represent many who are out there working so hard and doing a great job, and they don't always get to come down here. So I say congratulations to you and to all of the teachers who are working hard for our children in the city of Chicago. Thank you.
I would just add that one of the things that I've echoed for the last 4 years is that everyone associated with CPS, it's an imperfect organization, but it's also a very good organization, that we should all be proud of being part of CPS and strive with, as best we can to make it better. You are outstanding examples of that. Thank you so very much.
Yeah. Thank you. And congratulations again. Earlier this week, we launched the new Aspen Student Information System, which is a one-stop shop for student data. This is an exciting change for our district. Aspen combines the features of several of our previous student information platforms into a single system, providing us with important student information in real time and saving time for our teachers who no longer have to log into multiple platforms to manage their students' information. The CPS Parent Portal also moved to Aspen, giving families easy access to their students' assignments, grades, attendance, health compliance requirements, and fees that can now be paid with a credit card. This is another time-saving tool for our parents and families, and is part of our commitment to providing better customer service. I encourage parents who have not yet signed up for Parent Portal to do so with their school's main office clerk. Aspen is fully accessible from mobile devices and is a one-stop shop for CPS educators and families. The choice to move to Aspen was not made lightly. We created a selection committee made up of school and central office staff, and they carefully reviewed 7 separate proposals. This committee agreed overwhelmingly that Aspen was the right choice for CPS, and we know it will better support the exceptional work CPS educators are doing to provide students with a high-quality education. Our school-based staff have received extensive training on Aspen and were given months to test out the system and provide feedback before the official launch earlier this week. Now that Aspen is up and running, we look forward to examining more feedback from all stakeholders and working to make this system as efficient and user-friendly as possible. This concludes my report, and I will now turn things over to our CEO for the CEO's report, Dr. Janice Jackson.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Chief McDade. Just to piggyback on the last comment regarding Aspen, I do want to give another plug for parents to sign up. As a CPS parent, I had an opportunity to do that myself, and I was pleased with the ease of doing that. And so we're going to be sending out more communication today to assist any parents who need support doing that. Those of you who have had an opportunity to sign in or who will do so shortly, please know that this is a one-stop shop, and I was amazed at all of the information in one place. So we're really excited about the launch, and as Chief McDade said, we look forward to hearing your feedback on how we can continue to improve this tool. The first announcement that I would like to make is really topical given the celebration of our Golden Apple teachers that just occurred. On May 6th through May 10th, CPS will join school districts across the nation to celebrate Teacher Appreciation Week. And while we know that we should not only celebrate teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week, and we know that we don't have to tell parents and communities to celebrate teachers, it really is important for us to take time and pause and celebrate the folks who are working on the front lines and who are responsible for the hard work and the progress and the amazing outcomes that Chicago Public Schools has made in recent years. To that end, we would like to provide more support for schools to do that. And so later today, we will be sharing a social media toolkit with schools that they can use to amplify Teacher Appreciation Week, specifically call out individual teachers that have made an impact on their lives. And we encourage people to do that for teachers past and present. We know how difficult the role of teachers, the difficult role that teachers play in our schools. They are professionals who will stop at nothing to make sure the students get the academic, quality academics that they deserve. But we also know that teachers do so much more than that, that more and more they wear many hats in our schools. And for a lot of children, they are the single most a person outside of their parents that they trust. And so for that, we really want to ask the community in the greater city of Chicago to help us celebrate the teachers here in our school system. So you will hear more information about that, and I hope that you will join me. A second update that I would like to provide before I ask Mary Bradley, our Executive Director of Innovation and Incubation, to come to the podium is to provide an update on the charter school agreements. I know that there are many of you in the audience today who intend to address this with the board, and we appreciate your advocacy, but we would like to provide you with an update just so that everybody knows what our current stance is. For the past year, we've been working with our charter partners on a solution that will reform the current charter funding statute, which currently prevents Chicago Public Schools from funding charters in a manner that is equitable to district schools. This also does not allow CPS to ensure that charter schools receive the funding aligned to their actual needs of students. CPS and the greater charter community have discussed a number of options and ways that we can establish a more fair funding model. And in recent days, we have made additional progress towards an equitable solution. We believe we're very close to a resolution, and we're committed to doing whatever is possible until we reach a final agreement. Because a solution has not been reached, CPS is required by the same state statute to prorate recent charter tuition payments by nearly $50 million to remain in compliance with state law. We're committed, as I stated earlier, to working towards a resolution that will allow us to complete this payment this year, but also ensures that in subsequent years we have an equitable funding model. We understand the challenges that are faced by many of our charters at this time, and it is our priority to make sure that there's a quick resolution, and we look forward to continuing to work with our charter partners. We also have a few updates from Mary's team about amendments to a few of our charter contracts that I will call Mary up to the podium to provide more detail on today. We look forward to hearing your questions and comments later in the public public participation portion of today's agenda, and we also are looking very forward to coming up with a resolution as quickly as possible. I'm going to turn it over to Mary Bradley at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson, and good morning, President Clark and board members. Earlier this year, CPS accepted proposals from charter and contract schools to amend the charter school agreement. CPS received 14 applications from charter and contract schools, and today we're recommending that the board approve 6 of those applications. The applications came to us in February. We've had an extensive review on academics, finances, operations, community support, and community need. We also held a hearing to hear from the community and across the city. Today we're recommending 6 application amendments. The first is Perspectives Charter School Math and Science Academy. The school currently serves grades 6 through 12, and it has partnered with Young Women's Charter School through their closure process. As I will speak later, Young Women's has requested to voluntarily close their charter school due to some financial reasons. We are recommending additional 80 seats at the Perspectives Math and Science campus to accommodate these students from Young Women's who desire to continue their STEM education and to focus on females who desire to enter into the STEM career. The next is Hope Learning Institute Academy, who is currently serving K-5 students. We are recommending a change in the name after they have engaged with their school community of Hope Learning Academy. School location changes. Art in Motion Charter School was approved in 2017 to open the first arts-focused high school in the greater Stony Island region. After several years of community engagement and support, the school has identified 7415 Southeast End Avenue as their location for the fall of 2019 with grades 7 through 8. Excel Academy Southwest is an options contract school serving alternative population, and they are requesting a consolidation from 2 facilities into 1. KIPP Academy Chicago campus is currently a level 1+ school that opened in 2012. It's currently co-located with Nash Elementary, and to ensure the least disruption to the Nash community, KIPP has requested to serve K through 4 in a different facility located at 116 North LeClaire in the Austin community. YCCS did request an amendment to their contract as well, and it was originally slated to vote on for the location and a name change of one of their campuses. The provider has requested us to withdraw their amendment, and thus the board will not be voting on this at this time. Finally, Young Women's Leadership Charter School. Young Women's opened in 2000 and is currently serving grades 9 through 12. Young Women's has formally approached CPS in February with a desire to voluntarily close their charter school. They've experienced continued enrollment declines, which led to significant impact on their financial viability and also has affected their ability to provide the STEM educational program to their students. They've also independently worked with Perspectives Charter School to ensure that an all-girls STEM and leadership programmatic strand can continue for the students that they currently serve. They've notified their parents of the voluntary closure, and pending this board report, we are requesting that the board approve and recommending the board approve this. The district will continue to work with Young Women's Perspectives and all of the families to ensure that a smooth transition process for the students continues through the fall. Is there any questions on these recommendations?
Board members? Well, we've all been thoroughly briefed. The perspective, those 80 students, go back one slide. Where would they go if they didn't have the option for perspective?
So they would have the option, they still do, to attend their neighborhood school or other schools that do have seats open. The goal here with Perspectives is that they can continue, we can ensure that they can continue a STEM strand, and particularly around females that are focused on continuing the STEM career. So that's what the partnership with Perspectives is really focused on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. There are no additional questions related to that presentation. I'd like to transition to a quarterly update from the Office of Student Protections, and as well as introduce our new Title IX officer and chief officer for that office, Ms. Cammie Pratt. So, Cammie, please come to the podium. You may recall at last month's board meeting, we announced the fact that she would be joining CPS. I'm happy to have her here today. Cammie comes to us as a licensed attorney, mediator, and Title IX coordinator. Previously working at the University of Phoenix, she has over 10 years of experience working to eliminate gender-based discrimination, sexual harassment, and sexual violence at the post-secondary level. We made a commitment when we established this office to provide quarterly updates to the board as well as the public regarding CPS's progress, and we're going to start our presentation today looking at the Office of Student Protection's data. I would also like to note, as Cammie will point out, that we believe that with greater awareness amongst our students, staff, and parents, this has led to increased vigilance in Chicago public schools and greater reporting, which we count as a positive thing to show that there's a shift in our culture. Any allegation of potential student harm is deeply concerning to us, and as a community, we have to recognize that the first step is to eliminate any barriers to reporting inappropriate behavior or suspicion of inappropriate behavior. At this time, I will ask Ms. Pratt to provide a high-level overview of the district's work to protect our children.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Good morning, President Clark, members of the board, Dr. Jackson, Chief McDade, and members of the public. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on the work of the Office of Student Protections in Title IX. I would like to thank my predecessor, Doug Henning, for serving as the role of the interim Title IX officer and setting up the Office of Student Protections in Title IX. It is my honor to serve as the Chief Title IX officer for CPS, bringing my expertise and passion, ensuring gender-based discrimination, sexual harassment, and sexual violence are not barriers to Chicago's children in achieving their education. In order for us to be successful in protecting our children, we need to build a safe and supportive district and a district culture. OSP focuses on assisting the district with creating a culture where it is safe to report concerns, and we are developing a network of resources to support our children and their families. We built a coalition of citywide partners with a mission to create cross-institutional response teams to support and advocate for students impacted by sexual violence within CPS. The goal of the coalition is to develop effective resources and written procedures for referrals, also develop electronic materials and referral lists. Group members have come to train the OSP staff on their services and also on their areas of expertise. And you can see here the members of our coalition are throughout the area of Chicago in different organizations. They've been meeting since January on a monthly basis. As you're aware, OSP is charged not only with responding to reports of misconduct, but we are also charged with prevention and training. To that end, we have the ability to impact the CPS culture. Some of our upcoming trainings are the Protecting Chicago's Children 2.0 training. So you'll know that we rolled out a similar webinar last year at the beginning of the school year, and we are now updating that webinar. We want to ensure that all staff are aware of appropriate reporting procedures and appropriate reporting expectations and their responsibilities. We continue to ensure that all staff are trained on the Illinois mandated reporter training, and we have upcoming trainings scheduled with both the Office of Student Safety and Security with their security staff and the Office of Sports Administration with all of the athletic coaches and directors. Some of our ongoing training, you've heard about some of this during the January board meeting, was the Title IX school representative trainings for district-run schools. That began in December, and that is continuing. We've also trained in February the Parent Support Center. The team was trained on how to support and assist parents regarding allegations of sexual misconduct. And the Office of Social and Emotional Learning was trained in March. The specialists were trained and their team members on collaboration opportunities, terminology that's appropriate for reporting procedures. And then also to note that we're not only concerned about our CPS children, but we're concerned about children throughout Illinois.
So to that end, we are working to pass legislation to protect students across Illinois. CPS is working closely with members of the General Assembly to bring forward legislation that will protect students across the state. This legislation includes calling for more frequent rechecks of backgrounds of employees of school districts. We're asking that licenses of teachers who have been dismissed by school districts for physical or sexual acts with students be suspended pending revocation and then be suspended immediately upon dismissal. And we are requesting that the prohibition on releasing disciplinary information that is 4 or more years old be eliminated. We will now move into the data that we've collected since the beginning of the school year. Just to note that this data starts at the beginning of the school year, and then the cutoff for it was the end of March. Additionally, I just want to point out that, as Dr. Jackson stated, greater awareness among our staff, students, and parents has led to increased vigilance and greater reporting, and that is exactly what we want to see. You'll note that we've had 344 total OSP investigations. 96% of those investigations are closed. 64.8% of those investigations are substantiated findings. 28.5% of those investigations were unsubstantiated. And then we had 2.9% that had mixed findings. We have 1.5% investigations that are pending review and 2.3% of investigations that remain open. The majority of the reports that we received in the Office of Student Protections are actually for student misconduct. We've received 2,048 total reports since the beginning of the school year. 1,598 of those reports, representing 78%, are reports of student misconduct. 9.8% of those reports are adult misconduct for adults that involve CPS adults. 8.9% of those reports of adult misconduct represent non-CPS adults. On this slide, you'll see that we offer you what it looks like cases by different types of cases. And here we've also differentiated between whether or not the accused party is a student, a CPS adult, or a non-CPS adult. You'll see here that the majority of the cases are really on the left side of the slide.
Can I stop you for a moment?
Absolutely.
Your bar that shows students, are you referring to student on student?
That's correct.
Yes. I make that distinction because of the OIG that deals with adult on students, and I'm not sure the entire audience would be aware of that.
Exactly. Thank you for pointing that out. And so the majority of the cases, again, on the left side, you'll see the inappropriate touching, sexual gender harassment, electronic communication and recording. That accounts for the majority of the cases that we're seeing. And then finally, our reports of adult misconduct. We have received 450 total reports of adult misconduct. 48.4% of those are for CPS employee adults, 3.9% CPS vendor adults. You'll note that we have 28.5% are home-based or family adults, and then finally 19.1% are community-based adults. And with that, I'll turn it over if there are any questions.
Okay. Board members? Go ahead.
Hello, it's nice to make acquaintance with you, and thank you for the quarterly reports that are going to be taking place. It adds a lot of assurance of the importance of it. On page 4, I think you had something called mixed findings. What's involved with a mixed finding, and is that a closed finding?
So that might be, there might have been a variety of incidents that were reported to us. So maybe one complainant that reported different acts. And so some of those findings were substantiated and some were unsubstantiated.
So those become closed cases then?
Yeah, the case will close. Of course, something will take effect for whatever the actual substantiated portion of that finding is, and then the other part of that finding would just be closed unsubstantiated.
Okay. Austin, did you have something?
I have a question. What are the possible outcomes when it comes to CPS employees, CPS vendors, home-based adults, or community-based adults?
The possible outcomes as far as discipline.
Yeah, so when something is substantiated, what are the steps? Assume it's reported to DCFS. As soon as we get what are the possible outcomes for each of those categories?
Right, so then our department would turn that over. We would not be responsible for the disciplinary action that would take place.
For
Does that make sense?
no.
For the CPS adults. So we do the investigations internally in the same response for student discipline. So the student discipline is enacted at the school level. It's not enacted in our office.
And then what about for CPS employees? Where is that discipline?
If
And
I
I
could,
did-
if I could chime in, those
Yeah.
will refer to the OIG. So I think Mr. Schuler, when he does his
That's when
presentation,
it
would
gets
be
handed off.
better suited. But obviously, one of the first changes we made is that any allegation of an adult on student that results in that individual being removed from the school.
Immediately
pending-
removed, right?
Pending
Yes.
the investigation, which was a change. So I think Nick will be able to walk us
Okay.
through that in
Yeah,
more detail
absolutely.
shortly.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just to be clear, if it is a non-CPS employee, we refer that to the CPD as well as DCFS,
DCFS.
correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And the Office of Student Protections is still here to provide resources and assist the
Services
student
to
and
the affected
family.
students.
Absolutely.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Based on your experience, I want to see if you can give the board and frankly, the public a sense or perspective. The goal for any of these should be zero. There should be, we should have no tolerance at any level, adult on students, student on students, et cetera. We should have no tolerance. Based on your experience, and it may be premature, I don't know if you can even answer this, what you see in the time you've been here, are we disproportionately out of sync with the rest of the universe? What you're seeing here, what you've seen in the past, can you give us any perspective?
It's hard to get a perspective because reporting is real, there's underreporting in these sorts of situations. So what we're seeing right now as I'm here is exactly what I would anticipate seeing. I would anticipate that we're starting to create a culture where reporting is acceptable, and we're also training so that people can recognize behaviors that they wouldn't have otherwise recognized before. And so they're bringing that to our attention. A lot of what we see, so it looks concerning when you see the numbers, but a lot of those cases are actually very low-level cases where there's really just a need for more coaching involved. Excuse me, and that's exactly what we would anticipate seeing. So the anticipation was that we would see some high-level cases in the beginning, and then the further on that we can do training and really reach the culture of CPS, then those reports that will come for more minimal sorts of misconduct. There's underreporting. We tried to pull numbers, just national numbers, but it's very difficult. But the reporting
Yeah.
across the board is really underreported.
Just one more follow-up question. I know that the responsibility we have within the walls of CPS is a challenge in and of itself that we're obviously trying to address. I also, just based on the information that I read, a fair amount of this kind of conduct also takes place outside of our walls, in the communities, even regrettably, maybe even in households. How do you see us taking our learning curve and the things that we identify and work and educate parents so we can make sure they know what's happening?
Yeah, I think the more we do what we're doing, so we're taking in those cases that are occurring in the households. We treat those just like we treat any other cases, and really just getting out there, working with the family, providing the family with resources so that they understand, and resources to seek some help. And the more we do that, and the more we can get out there and do that, the more that will decrease as well.
Mr. President, if I may interject, Aisha has a question for Kemi.
Go right ahead, Asha.
Yeah. So my question is more about the students. So what I was wondering what actions are being taken to ensure the students are motivated to share their stories. And then after they have shared their stories about being sexually assaulted, are they safely still getting their education in the schools, or are they being bullied for sharing their stories in the school because they have obviously shared that they have experienced this type of action?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And so that's really a focus. So the focus for us is not just to sit here and take in cases and investigate. We need to do that. That's important. But we need to reach out to those students. And so our coordination team follows up with those students, and we make sure that there aren't barriers to their education. So they've obviously had a traumatic experience, and whether or not we as a department find that that has been substantiated or unsubstantiated, it's really irrelevant. We still need to reach out to that student and ensure the barriers for them to receiving their education are removed. So we will continue to work with students even after that report. And again, as you noted, there could be forms of retaliation that might happen. We work on safety plans with students, and again, just the resources providing depending on whatever that specific student situation and whatever they individually need for assistance.
And if I could add to, thank you for that, Cammie. And if I could add to that, Asha, one thing that we're doing, which I know I think you participated in through MICFA, is next year when we release the Student Code of Conduct. In the beginning of the Student Code of Conduct, we will start with the Student Bill of Rights. And so before we start to explain to students what conduct is appropriate and what the consequences are, we want to make sure that every student is aware of his or her rights and what kind of recourse or redress they have if they think their rights have been violated. So I think that Cammie is pointing out what we do specifically with cases that are brought to our attention. But the next phase for this is that we want to make students aware of their rights up front, and we're going to do that through the dissemination of the Student Code of Conduct next year, which was drafted through our Office of Health and Wellness in conjunction with the group of CPS high schoolers.
Well, this is a continuation of the same discussion. Grooming is an area that I really believe is not well defined and really not well understood and often not recognized. That was behind my question, what we're sharing with communities as a whole, what we're sharing with our parents, because you don't always recognize. You see it after the fact. It becomes clearer and clearer, but it's not terribly clear when this is taking place. And this is a conversation I've had several times with Dr. Jackson, and I know that this is a real focus of hers. In fact, you being here is because of that. But I think I'm asking you a question that's impossible to answer right at this time, but that has to be part of what we do. Share our knowledge with parents and with the communities, things that they should be looking for to help protect our students.
Yeah.
What I can share is, what we looked and what we found in the data, the first 3 months when we reported on the data in January until now, that number of grooming reports is actually the highest number that's increased. So people are starting to recognize it.
Good.
And the last point I'll make on that, President Clark, is earlier in this process, Board Member Garza helped us to convene a group of community-based organizations who work specifically on this, so that our response to parents and communities is culturally appropriate and responsive. And so we should continue to engage some of those individuals that she brought to the table, because they can help us share this information more broadly and in a culturally appropriate way.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. As stated earlier, Cammie will be followed by the Inspector General, Nick Schuler, who will provide an update on his work around adult misconduct as it relates to student safety. Inspector General Schuler? I don't see. Oh, okay.
Hello, good morning. President
Morning.
Clark, board members, Dr. Jackson. It's sort of an update. This will largely be a lot of updates on sort of the figures from our January presentation. So the cases still continue to come in at a pretty good clip. These figures are through March. the end of March, with 313 total cases have come in. And you can see that's an average of 2.9 per school day, 1.73 per calendar day. And so the last couple months, they've been coming in, higher than they had been. So 3.9 a day, school day, 3.57 a day. So it's a fair amount of cases that continue to come in, and we'll talk about in a second. That's presented some challenges. So our active investigations that are open, I think these numbers are through today. So we've closed 85 cases. That's to date. We have 178 cases open, and then there's 50 cases, or 16% of them, are substantially complete. And that means the investigative stage is basically done, but they're awaiting formal write-up and dissemination to the board and CPS. Because the cases still are coming in, we've asked for more resources since our January presentation. And so we asked for 10 more people. The board agreed to give us 10 more people. And I'll just take a couple minutes to talk about why I think what these people will be able to do and help us meet our needs. To put it simply, we want to close cases at the rate they're coming in. We want to close them promptly, and we want to close them basically at the rate that they're coming in. And we've determined we need more resources to do that. And one of the biggest challenges we face is that there's kind of what I'd call a mini investigation on the front end, or sort of a triage when the cases come in. We really try to assess what we have. We try to get as much information as we can. We need to boil that down to make assessments about whether people need to be pulled or not. There's coordination with the police. There's coordination with DCFS, principals, and then discussions with CPS personnel about whether to, central office people about whether to pull people. And that has been taking, that process has been taking a lot of time away from the investigators and from the team chief and the assistant team chief, Amber Porter and Amber Nesbitt, who are here. They've just been spending a lot of time dealing with that, and we think we're going to hire some people, intake specialists, that will effectively form a triage team that will help us get a lot of this information, free up investigators, free up the team chiefs to do other things, and get a lot of this going so we can make these determinations, these critical determinations early on that need to be done. And then we've asked for more investigators, approximately 5, and then another attorney or 2. I think the exact mix of these people will be determined, but these jobs are posted, and so there's sort of, it'll take, the job are posted, we're interviewing, and there'll be an uptake process till the people are hired on board, and then there'll be even a bit of a delay till people are trained and effective. But the goal is, we expect the complaints to drop during the summer. We don't think they'll stop completely from our experience during breaks to date. We think that some will come on. There's still summer school, other things. But we expect to be able to catch up and assess through the summer and hopefully start the next school year in a great position to be able to close cases, basically at the rate they're coming in. So again, these are, this is not new information from last time. These are the categories of our cases. Sexual act, that's penetration, sexual abuse, physical conduct for sexual gratification, groping, fondling, sexual comments, that's in person, grooming, that's where we think it's the behaviors to break down inhibitions for sexual conduct, sexting, touching, less than sexual abuse, then concerning other, that's this category I talked about last month. We'll talk about it a bit more. Leery, creepy behavior, and then there's student on staff inappropriate conduct. We've had some instance of that. And then there's outcries about older conduct that predates our takeover of the office. Again, I think there's people have a fair amount of questions about what this other concerning section is, because it is such a large amount of our cases. So it's, it's things that as I've said before, they're not certainly somebody feels that it's inappropriate, but on its otherwise on its face, it's hard to tell that it's sexual. Just people are being, people are feeling uncomfortable. We certainly recognize that, but so it's we get allegations somebody's looking at bodies inappropriately. That can be hard to prove. Verbal communication that's not clearly sexual, but is inappropriate for other reasons. Violating the communications guidelines between students and staff. And so what we're trying to do in these cases is, we recognize that these could be grooming behaviors. And so we're definitely trying to explore this, figure out what's going on. And I think a big overarching goal of what we're trying to do here is, people can, based on these investigations, people can either get retrained if they need it, and then we can also track that when there are repeat offenders or repeat complaints about this, and we can target what, where these complaints are coming from and determine whether there is, something more serious going on, or this is sort of something that is a training issue. Some teachers being overly friendly or creepy, and then use of electronics or social media that does not fall into grooming, but might violate acceptable use guidelines. So I don't know that we need to dwell on this, but I don't know if I'll go through each one, but these are the updated totals on the cases. Again, the concerning cases, we've had 145 those to date. That's 46% of the cases. Sex acts is much smaller proportion. 19 cases we have allegations of that, 6%, and sexual abuse 11%. So it'll be clear that these are the allegations as they're coming in the door on this slide. This might be a little more helpful in terms of an update. These are our categories compared from January to now, and remarkably, they're about the same percentages. With a few percentage changes here or there. The Sex Act, that's the most significant change of +3% over the period before, but it's remarkably consistent among these categories. So this is breakdown of elementary school cases by allegation. Again, this is fairly consistent from where we were before. High school allegation by category. I don't know if we need to go through each number. The numbers there will be publicly available. Cases by grade, by level. High school cases, 143 cases. Elementary school, 167 cases. And we have 3 cases that are unknown because we have very little information about them. We just have allegations. Cases by school type. There's been some information about this. I alluded to last time. We have better numbers. We've looked at it a little harder now. So we have most of the cases that have come in, by far the majority, 94% of the cases, have come from the district schools. And the charters, we have 15 cases that we're aware of. That's 5%. The district rate is 95.8 allegations reported per 100,000 students. So apply that to the charter student population of 53,357. It produces a projection of 51.1 allegations. So then that would be 36.1 more than the 15 we've actually have been actually reported by the charter schools. So it definitely it does suggest that there's underreporting from the charter schools, and we're trying to figure that out.
Can I interrupt you?
Yes.
Because you've kind of answered the question. I was going to ask you, is there, in your mind, in your judgment, again, this may be a little bit early to know, that's a pretty substantial difference.
I mean, it does suggest.
Doesn't mean anything other than what you're saying.
I mean, it suggests that there's underreporting. I think based on the data, it's a pretty big number, and I think it would be hard to explain away. Just that we would expect to see similar problems. And so, without more, I don't know that we know what the answer is. And part of it is, we're trying to figure out, are they do they understand that that they need to follow the same policies, that they're supposed to be calling DCFS, then our office? Has there been enough messaging about getting this out? And I think, as I understand it, the board is working on a more robust plan to work with the charters and get there. And so we're going to keep an eye on this, and we'll keep probing it. And we want to make sure that we are, that we are getting these complaints reported to us. We feel they should be investigated by our office, an independent body, and there should be uniform, consistent investigations in this regard. So,
do you have all the authorities that you need to require, ask them, whatever, to report, or is it your view that we, the board, have to ramp up the ability to enforce that?
I think we think we have all the authority we need. I think there's some question as to what the charters might think about this. And I think that's part of what I think is going to be worked on is, are they, do they think that they don't need to be reporting this? Do they think they're doing their own investigations? We want to make sure that, that they're reporting these and they're being investigated by us. So I think that those are, I don't have answers to those questions. I think those are questions that need to be asked as we go.
I would
as we pay attention to this.
Just like to add that we have in amendments to our agreements with the charters emphasized their requirement to use our processes and to follow these policies.
So as they've come up for, I'm sorry, President Clark, as they've come up for renewal, those that were renewed, I believe in December, there was added language around that requirement. But I think one thing that the district can do to support Inspector General Schuler's concerns is just make sure that the materials around protecting Chicago's children that have been dispersed throughout the city to district and charter schools, just making sure that that same level of compliance is there that we see in our district schools, and that's something that we are committed to doing. And any other recommendations we'd be happy to accept.
Thanks.
Thank you. We're still interrupting you. I'm sorry, Nick. But very clearly, from the board's perspective, and frankly, from our conversations, there is no distinction between your authority with district schools and charter schools. Zero. And that has to be completely clear. I believe that the amended contract language reinforces that. There are many people here from the charters organization that hear these comments. There is no distinction. We won't accept a charter school not cooperating with you fully, as every district school must.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it would behoove us and leadership to think through if a school, charter or non-charter, does not comply, then what? What are the actions that we can take? I realize in theory, when the charters come up for renewal, we can say, no, you don't have a charter, but I feel like some gradations of punishments, if you want to call them, or remedial actions is worth our thinking through in the case of both charters and non-charters. It's always embarrassing, I'm sure, for a principal, for whoever to be reporting it, but we need that information.
Yeah, well, we do need that information, and aside from the discipline piece and figuring out whether these teachers should be there, whoever they might be, as we pointed out on this slide here, the students do need support, and we need to make sure that they're getting support uniformly, that these that the procedures are uniform, and there shouldn't be different 1, 2, 3, 4, 12 different ways of the way these are handled within the district. So,
and from again prior conversations, if you run into a situation like that, you're going to bring it to the attention of the board, and obviously to Dr. Jackson and her organization, and it won't be accepted. The appropriate remedial actions will be taken.
Right. So again, I don't want to paint it with this too fine a brush just yet. This is preliminary, and we're away from making findings in this regard. But I do want to. There are areas of concern, and I think we're kind of speculating as to what might be behind some of this.
Okay.
Frank, just one more point. I think everybody up here would agree that waiting till the charter contracts are changed to add stronger language is incredibly inadequate. And I know you would agree too. So I think for the briefing next month, I would like the specific actions that we're taking, because this says they're reporting half of what we would expect they would be reporting. So that tells me that says failure, right? So we don't need to go another 90 days to prove that we have failure of reporting going on. Doesn't mean that in the district that we're not also underreporting. We're probably getting closer and closer to better reporting, but I think everybody thinks there's still some extent of underreporting going on. So my request would be that when we do our briefings in May, that we get a review of the specific things in addition to the stronger contract language for the charter schools.
That's an appropriate request, and we'll act on it.
Yep.
But I do want to be clear, because I was listening, I believe, very closely to your words. The difference in activity, district versus charters, is hard to explain. And we don't know. The real answer is we don't know. The reasonable conclusion, the reasonable reaction is that there's some underreporting. We don't know how much.
I mean, we're missing something.
Exactly.
I think we're missing reporting or some piece of the puzzle that's clearly, not
Well,
obvious.
human behavior. And I doubt that it's different in a charter school versus a district school versus a neighborhood versus a state. Human behavior is what we're up against here. And I think that the fact that we have this difference is something, again, consistent with Mark's comment, is that we have to be closer to and know what steps we want to take.
Mr. Chairman, I would just add, look, the charter is a division on our chart, so it's easy to see. Within the district schools, I'm sure there's wide variation. You could find, if you looked at the least reporting 10% of the schools that are non-charter schools, we would equally say, it looks like something strange is going on here and there's underreporting. So let's just
I think that's a fair
keep
point.
an
I
eye
think that's a
on
fair
this,
point.
on
So
this
we're-
issue about underreporting.
I think that's a
across
fair
the board.
point.
Thank you, Austin. That's a very balancing statement, and I'm glad you got it out there. So it won't be like we're saying charters are one, because they're all part of CPS, and I'm sure even in district schools, as Austin pointed out, and you'll see some extreme variations. Nevertheless, I think you've heard the desire of the board, and you're already looking at this and trying to assess what's behind it, which is exactly what you should be doing.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. I think we want to make sure that they're reporting everything they should reporting, and then we'll take it from, we'll figure out what that means depending on what the data shows after that.
Okay.
Once we're confident that everything's being reported, I think that's the first step. So this is the top 5 district job categories by allegations. This is through the end of March. So teachers, we've had 138 allegations, I'm sorry. That's 0.72% of teachers. That's the rate. Security guard, we've had 44 allegations, so that's 2.5% of the security guard population. Vendor employees, 22 allegations. 4 substitute teachers, 19 allegations. We don't have the incident rate for that population because we don't know exactly the number of vendor employees. And the substitute teachers is a little hard to calculate because there's many that are active and inactive. So we need to drill down a little more on that to come up with better numbers. And then 5 is SECAs, the special education classroom assistants. They have a 0.4% rate. And then 67 other people are subjects of cases at district schools. And that includes bus personnel, principals, assistant principals, and people with other job titles. So here's sort of an update from the last time. We have 5 CPS adults charged or indicted. And the last 2 bullet points in that first group there, 1 former CPS employee was indicted on aggravated criminal sexual abuse, sexual exploitation of a child, and grooming. That person was charged since January. And we have 1 teacher charged with criminal sexual abuse of a former CPS student. That was charged since January. There's 5 active CPD investigations. 5 cases are suspended by CPD. 1 case is unfounded by CPD. and 3 cases are not being investigated by a CPD for different reasons. So this is probably the next most serious category, 33 alleged sexual abuse cases. And then the third bullet point, 1 misdemeanor battery has been charged since January. And then again, so there's 7 active CPD investigations. 5 cases are suspended, 3 cases are unfounded. There's 7 cases they're not investigating. And 8 of those cases have been closed by our office. 1 has been substantiated.
Nick, the cases that CPD does not investigate, do we then pick that up and investigate it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the main things we're doing here is that we're making sure these cases are investigated to completely through to the end.
Yep.
And, so we operate, we can find cases by preponderance of the evidence. So there's plenty of reasons why the police might not.
May not, but we would.
They have to work by the higher standard. As of April 23, 76 adults have been pulled from school pending investigation. 10 substitute teachers are blocked from teaching in CPS. 8 employees under investigation have retired or resigned, and 14 employees have been terminated from their positions. So here's a breakdown of the 76 adults currently pulled. 34 teachers, 13 security guards, 6 vendor employees, 5 SICAs, 4 bus drivers or aides, 4 custodial workers, 3 deans, and 7 others. 14 adults have been terminated, so there's just some stats about that. 6 security guards, 2 coaches, and then 1 each of the following: a dean, a lunch monitor, SICA, substitute teacher, and vendor employee. And so, and that concludes my presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead, Tom.
Hey, Nick, thank you for the work. For reasons, I don't think adults in the state can understand. In the state and the city, the OIG is incredibly underappreciated and runs into obstruction continuously, it seems to me. And I would say most people in the state and the city, we don't understand why. In your case, when you look at the OSP, 96% of their cases are closed. Yours are 27. So really 2 questions. I know yours are more complicated to some extent. So one is, do we give you the resources you need, realizing you can only deploy them as fast as you can, but do you get the resources you need? And second, is there any level of obstruction that you see or actions to impair your independence to do your work based on the management of CPS or the board? So I think it's 2 questions.
Yeah, I mean, to the first point about resources, no, I think I think there's been a real dedicated amount of resources given to the office. We started with 12 people. Which I think Maggie Hickey and I and everybody else thought that was going to be enough, plenty perhaps. And so it's turned out to be that's, I think the amount of cases are coming in faster than expected. And so, so we've asked for more people, and, there's been a build out of our office space too with all that. So, we finally moved in, and I think, so they've given. I think we've been given everything we've asked for. That's true, and we're hopeful that this is the right amount. But I think by the end of the summer, we'll figure out if this is the right mix. If it'd be great if it were too many people, but if we need more, I won't be shy about asking for more people. And then obstruction, no, I wouldn't. I don't think we've had any obstruction since we've taken over any of these cases on October 1st. Nothing obstruction. Nothing beyond, I would call, just growing pains of working together with OSP and other people, but nothing that rises the level of obstruction, no.
Thanks. Good to hear on both of those.
Frank, I have a
Yes.
question. On your report, there was an instance of 5 that you investigated, I think 2 slides back, and they were unfounded. What happens to the adults who have been accused and the children or whoever did the accusing, because that could be devastating, even though they were unfounded, even for the other person who maybe accused them. So my question is, do they stay in the same school? What happens?
Well, I think if they're unfounded, maybe Amber could speak to it more, but I think they are, I think they're reinstated. I think they go back to the school. And we've had discussions with OSP about the process for that, and I think we've had discussions with Talent about what, I think we're getting better at the process of kind of communicating with principals and what there needs to be. And I think it's being handled basically on a case-by-case basis of, how to let the person know this has been unfounded, how to let the students and the community know and get them integrated back in. So I think that's basically being handled on a case-by-case basis with coordination through my team, OSP, and Talent, I believe. Is that right?
Any other questions? Nick, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. And President Clark, we have just one more presentation, very short, from our Chief Officer for Early Childhood Education, Michael Abello. He's going to provide an update on CPS's efforts to create universal pre-K across Chicago for 4-year-olds. Michael?
Thanks, Dr. Jackson. Good morning, President Clark, members of the board, student representative Aisha. Really excited to share a little bit about some of our work around preschool expansion. As you know, part of the district's vision is to build a comprehensive, strong pre-K through 12th grade system. And as part of our efforts, we are actively looking into how we are not only increasing access to preschool, but making sure that that access is quality and ensuring that every student who's entering kindergarten is academically and socially prepared for those grade levels and beyond. So just to give you a quick overview of where we are at currently in CPS, there's approximately 16,700 students in preschool, 75% of which are 4-year-olds, the other 25% are 3-year-olds. In addition to that 16,700, I think it's also worth acknowledging that there are an additional about 7,700 3- and 4-year-olds who are currently being served in community-based organizations throughout the city, approximately 4,000 of which are 4 years old as well. So that gives you a sense of the landscape that we currently serve. And to put that into context, we currently have about 24,000 kindergartners in CPS. So why is this initiative so important? Why am I here today? First and foremost, not only do we know preschool matters, but we also know that full-day preschool matters. Every research study under the sun seems to point to students who receive full-day quality preschool programming being academically and socially prepared, more prepared for kindergarten, and that tends to follow them through 3rd grade as well. So we know this work matters, and we know it's an opportunity that our students deserve. I think the most important part of this expansion is to know that this is not just a CPS initiative. When we talk about expansion, we're also talking about expanding in our community-based agencies as well through this mixed delivery model. So our goal through this expansion is to ensure that every 4-year-old has access to a free full-day quality program throughout the city of Chicago through either CPS or through a community-based organization. We are attempting to achieve this over the course of the next 3 years. CPS will concentrate its efforts on servicing 4-year-olds in our full-day programming. We'll still have access to half-day programming. That half-day programming will be for our blended classrooms that service 3-year-olds. Those are the 3-year-olds who have IEPs who qualify for services will still be served in half-day programs. And then finally, again, knowing that this is a mixed delivery model. So as we are expanding in CPS, we are also doing so in our community-based organizations as well. So to talk a little bit about the process that we're taking to expand and where we are prioritizing expansion, first and foremost, we're conducting a pretty thorough assessment of where we're needed, so a demand assessment. The best ways to assess demand are to look at current wait list information, to look at kindergarten enrollment in particular community areas, and also to listen to the community more broadly. So we've looked at some of this information that we have available to us to determine where we're needed. In addition to that, in terms of prioritization, we've concentrated our efforts next year on our highest need community areas as dictated by family income information that we collect, STLS information, additional information such as low-income percentages at various schools across the city. So these factors are helping us drive where we should prioritize over the course of the upcoming year. In addition to those risk factors, we're also looking at where we have the capacity to expand. So we've engaged in a pretty comprehensive facility analysis in many schools, and that facility analysis is going to continue throughout the course of the next couple of years as we continue to plan for future expansion. So again, next year, concentrating on high-need community areas where we have the capacity to expand, and looking beyond, again, concentrating on our highest-need community areas where we have capacity, and then thinking about what our plans need to entail to make sure that we're able to expand even in areas where we don't have the capacity to expand yet. So these are all part of the steps that we're taking to roll this out. So next year, really excited to announce that we're going to be creating 102 new full-day preschool classrooms throughout the city of Chicago. These classrooms will be targeting again, our highest need community areas. They will be full-day classrooms where we are going to prioritize 4-year-olds. In addition to those 102 programs, we're also converting 42 half-day programs that currently exist into full-day classrooms. So this means that we're going to create 2,800 new full-day seats next year across the city for preschool, which is incredibly exciting to share. We're also, again, looking at our facilities across the city to understand not only how we do this next year, which we've already planned for, but also what this looks like beyond 1920. So looking ahead, to achieve a universal preschool system, we estimate that we're going to need approximately anywhere between 400 and 450 new classrooms in the city. This is going to take a lot of effort. We're going to need to not only first and foremost continue to look at our demand analyses, but also to really look at our facility analyses as well to understand what the path forward is to create these 400 and 450 new classrooms across the city. We have included here a small snapshot of where we believe those efforts will be concentrated over the course of the next couple of years based on need and demand. But that will be an ongoing analysis that's done in collaboration with the Department of Family and Support Services and City Hall to ensure that we're prioritizing the right community areas at the right time. But our goal is to continue to expand as those resources become available. I would also just share that obviously that this future expansion is also going to be dependent on certain dependencies such as funding, capital, and talent, which is a really big piece of this equation as well. So a couple action items that I would love for you guys just to be aware of. First and foremost, in collaboration with DFSS and the City of Chicago, we've created a workforce scholarship program, investing nearly $6 million over the last couple of years in opportunities for teaching assistants and others around the city to become certified preschool teachers, which is an exciting opportunity to build our workforce. In addition to that, we have an early childhood residency program, and we recently hired an early childhood recruiter to the talent team to help support with some of these workforce demands moving forward. Additionally, one big action step that we're taking is we're looking and assessing our current application and technological systems to ensure that they meet the needs of our families. I think something that we've heard is making sure that as families apply, that the application process itself is accessible, that it meets their needs, and that it supports the long-term vision of a pre-K-12 system. And so that's something that we're actively looking at as we move into the upcoming school year. And then finally, really important to know that our office is actively collaborating weekly with the Department of Family and Support Services and City Hall to make sure that as we are expanding, as we are communicating our expansion plans, that's done so collaboratively. We want to make sure that everybody knows that this is not a CPS initiative, that it truly is a mixed delivery model that we're trying to achieve. And so that ongoing collaboration is a really important part of this effort. And then finally, as I mentioned a couple times, one action step that we're really working on is this ongoing facility analysis to understand what will our capacity be in existing schools or in existing space to expand beyond next year to ensure that every 4-year-old has a seat in preschool. And that concludes my presentation. I'm open to any questions you guys might have.
Board members?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I was just wondering, full day, half day kindergartens. Are there parents who are interested in keeping half day? And what it might be the percentage of those?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can't speak to the percentage per se, but we have gotten feedback from principals and community members who have expressed interest in just wanting to know a little bit more about why the conversion's taking place and what if, in the event a parent wants a half-day slot, how will that process work? I think our approach has been twofold. Number one, to listen to principals and listen to community members to better understand what the need and requests are. I think that's an important part of this process. I think second is to really make sure that we're articulating the message of why full day matters and why we believe this is such an important initiative. What we know is for any child, regardless of community area, that if you have access to full day, that you will be academically and socially more prepared for kindergarten. And we want to make sure that every student and every community has access to those opportunities, which is a really important part of this work. So I think part of it is a listening piece, and I think part of it is also a messaging piece to share why we believe this is so important. And if changes need to be made based on feedback, we are prepared to make those changes. But again, the priority is every 4-year-old having access to those opportunities.
Okay, any other questions? Michael, just one question. I don't believe, or certainly I hope there's no debate around the benefits of universal preschool for young kids. I hope that everyone agrees that that's something that's extremely important to the success of these young people. What I have seen, and there's always been an issue that troubled me, but I don't have an answer. All of our seats aren't taken. And some of our communities, it's more notable than others. I know you're trying to address that, but that's almost something that's the parent. That's the people that are responsible. What can we do or should be doing that we're not doing to make sure that those seats are full?
Yep, that's a great question, President Clark, and it's something that sits on my mind and my team's mind every day. I think the reality is that we do have some open seats in the district, and I think part of our responsibility moving forward is to figure out how our systems support filling those seats. It's not a matter of the students not being there, it's a matter of us really making sure that we are developing the internal systems and also pushing a message out to community areas to fill those seats. So I think it's really a two-pronged approach, making sure that as we are making enhancements to our application and technology systems, that they support placement in open seats. And then number two, to push this message out to community areas that we're expanding and we want your child to be in preschool. So we're actively working with, again, DFSS, City Hall, and other partners like Illinois Action for Children on a marketing campaign to get out to community areas to help fill those seats, while simultaneously thinking about enhancements we can make to our internal systems to ensure that we at least can do everything we can to fill those open seats throughout the district.
Thank you, Michael.
Mr. President, excuse me, Michael, Aisha has a question for him, please.
Please.
So I know we want the seats to be filled. I also have a question regarding, like, parents have to go to work, and then we want students to also be enrolled in preschool. So I was wondering if there's any transportation services for students to go to preschool, and also,
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now there are limited transportation availability to students, and we tend to limit those transportation options to students who qualify for services to make sure that if they qualify for a seat, that we're able to get them there, so that for example, in the city right now, we have blended classrooms throughout Chicago, which support students with diverse needs. We want to make sure that we're able to do so, even if they need to travel a mile and a half to get those services. Part of our effort is to reduce travel as much as possible to make sure that we're opening space where the student lives. That's a big part of our effort. And in the event that we're not able to, we provide transportation for them to get there in every case. So that's a big part of our effort. But in terms of citywide, outside of that model, the goal is to open seats in students' and families' neighborhoods so that they don't have to necessarily travel across the city to have access to full-day pre-K. Good question.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Clark. That concludes the CEO's report.
I do have one other person who doesn't know I'm going to call him up and put him on the spot for about 30 seconds, and that's Ron Denard. Ron, come to the mic, please.
Yes, they do a victory lap. They shouldn't do that. Whenever you have money, then sometimes you don't have money.
I'm not going to ask you to repeat the presentation you made at the Finance and Audit Committee this morning, except for since we have struggled for years, several years really, with borderline insolvency. You said something in the meeting this morning that I just think is worth repeating in front of a larger audience. Did you not say that this budget, our revenues actually meet all of our expenses? And in fact, there's even the possibility of doing a little bit better than that, although it's way too soon to tell. Now, you said in your words.
Yes, I said that we did a budget to actual for the first 6 months of the year, and I said that we are on track, and I said we are on track for our full year budget to be balanced.
Those of you that have attended these meetings for years know that for the first few years of this board anyway, we were looking at billion-dollar deficits and ways, frankly, how we would meet our bills, meet our pension obligations, et cetera, et cetera. Thanks to legislative help and extraordinary discipline on the part of CPS and others, we can say this today. So I wanted you to say it again. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You did a great job, Brian.
Okay. I have one announcement to make, and what I make at every board meeting, I encourage you again to use our website, which is cpsboe.org. Excellent way to communicate with board in between board meetings, to arrange for office hours with board meetings, and to have issues that are important to you dealt with or resolved in between board meetings. So I can encourage you to continue using our website. And with that, Madam Secretary, please share the details for the next board meeting.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next board meeting will be held on Wednesday, May 22nd, 2019, at the CPS Loop office. Advanced registration will open at 10:30 a.m. Monday, May 20th, 2019, and close on Tuesday, May 21st, 2019, at 5 p.m., or until all slots are filled, whichever is first. If anyone has any questions about this process, please contact the board office for our assistance. Thank you.
Okay. And Asher, I believe that you have some information regarding the 2019-20 Honorary Student Board member application process.
Yes. Thank you, President Clark. The application period for 2019 and 2020 Honorary Student Board member is still open. I encourage rising juniors and seniors, current 10th and 11th graders to apply. The deadline is Friday, April 26th. More information is posted on the website at cpsboe.org.
Thank you very much. Now let's proceed with today's public participation section. Madam Secretary, please share the rules for public participation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speakers, please listen while I provide directions for public participation. I will call your name and number when it is your turn to speak. When you hear your name, please immediately proceed to the staging area to the left of the podium and check in with our board office staff member. Eric will assist. You will be lined up in the right order. When it is your turn to speak, proceed to the podium and state your name. After you state your name, I will then start the 2-minute clock, which is visible to all in the audience. I would also like to note that there is a timer on top of the podium for the speakers to see. When there are 30 seconds remaining, the color will turn yellow, and when the 2 minutes are up, the light will turn to red. Please immediately take your seat when your time is up to allow for the next speaker to begin. Also, for anyone who plans to stand in support of a speaker, please be aware that the only walkway in the boardroom is behind the podium. Therefore, if you would kindly make a single file line and stand as near as the railing as possible, this will still allow people to pass through the area safely. Thank you. Mr. President, with us this morning, we have Jesse Sharkey from the CTU, and he will be followed by Chris Bayron, the head of the Charter School Division of the CTU. Mr. Sharkey?
Good afternoon, members of the board, CEO Jackson. I'm Jesse Sharkey, the president of the CTU. I have a few quick things for you today. First of all, I'd like to urge you to reject the AIM Charter School's application for a change in location. My understanding is that the AIM Charter School is not currently enrolling students I would like you to urge to reject that on the grounds of its impact on South Shore, CVS, and Hirsch Metropolitan High Schools. Secondly, on the grounds of its connection between Ames Management Company, Distinctive Schools, Joseph Wise, and the people who were involved in the soup scandal. And thirdly, on the grounds that CPS continues to struggle with student enrollment, closing schools, and properly resourcing the schools that we do have. I give a much more extended testimony about this issue when you consider this issue last year. To save time, I'm not going to repeat all the points that I made, but I do urge you to go back and look at that. I continue to have concerns about this area, and nothing that I've learned in the intervening year has changed our basic view of that situation. Secondly, on student-based budgeting, which the union has criticized periodically or since it's been implemented in 2013, based on a model that then Superintendent Jean-Claude Brizard had in Rochester, and then it was implemented by Barbara Bennett. There's a new report from the Consortium on Chicago School Research, which just came out in March of 19, which I urge you to look at. The most surprising thing in that for me is that 66% of CPS administrators found that student-based budgeting was a complete or significant roadblock on their ability to do their jobs effectively. I've also heard from many of our members who report that principals have told them to their faces in job interviews that, quote, "I cannot hire you because you're too expensive." I mean, which sounds like an age discrimination lawsuit, but it reflects a kind of a reality of the way that student-based budgets impact administrators, which is they have too few resources, and because the student budget and because that budget has to reflect the cost of hiring individual teachers, they're basically telling veteran educators they can't be hired. It should never happen. We think the state of Illinois' evidence-based funding model is actually better and more accurate in a number of ways. Because it takes into accord things like English language learners, special ed, concentrations of poverty, etc. We think this needs to be addressed. Third point is that bargaining is happening, obviously, between the CTU and the Chicago Board of Education. It's been going on since mid-February. We need to get going on this. Mayor-elect Lightfoot has a platform which we think actually lifts up a number of areas which have been long-time areas of concern for the union. Particularly, she talks about resources for basic educational supports, things like nurses, librarians, social workers. That's an area of concern for us, obviously. She talks about investing in community schools, again, an area that we've highlighted in our contract demands, and then training for trauma-informed practices. Our educators need to have some awareness about how to use those techniques if they're going to be successful. And so we're going to be talking about these things at the bargaining table. We want to urge a sense of try to get some momentum going for these in our contract talks. We need progress in all of these areas. I'll just mention two more things quickly. First of all, in the category of you heard it from me first, the Aspen rollout has been rough, kind of a disaster. I haven't heard a single teacher who's told me that's rolled out well. I mean, you go and you look at what people are saying about it. The user interface for teachers is clunky. People report this is extremely difficult to use in the classrooms. It might have been designed to be more convenient for parents as a one-stop shop for information, but I'm hearing like literally hundreds of complaints about it. Please, people are going to need help getting that implemented successfully in the classroom. And then the final thing I'll mention is that I know that you mentioned there's some pending legislation in Springfield about the way charters are funded. Loop us in on that conversation. We've had long-standing concerns. I mean, the CTU's position is that there should be equal funding for all of our students. We have many members now in the charter sector, but we want to make sure that we're involved in the conversation about the way legislation goes through Springfield.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Sharkey. And the next speaker, please, Chris Behrend.
Good afternoon, all. I'll be brief as well, since this is it's been quite a long meeting. There are 5 charter schools that have authorized a strike, and maybe others joining it. Teachers don't go on strike because they're greedy. They don't go on strike because they want like protections to be bad at their jobs. they go on strike or they threaten to go on strike because they see that their school, that they've got demands that will make their school better, that are reasonable demands, that their employer can meet, and they see that that's the only way to make it happen. However, we just heard this astonishing information about potential sexual improprieties happening in charter schools not being, I know it's just potential, but this is just another example of how taxpayers expect this board to have some accountability over education in Chicago, and it's not happening. I'll give you two quick examples of what's happening with our members at Chicago High School for the Arts. Members there are receiving 54% less compensation than they would if they were teaching in a district school. This includes a lack of contributions to the Chicago Teacher Pension Fund. Are teachers there any less worthy of a pension than teachers anywhere else in this city? They do the exact same work. The tax dollars that we give this school that we give the operator to run a school, they're also now using, they've hired a second law firm. They've got one union-busting law firm at the table. They've hired a second firm to lobby against those teachers getting a pension in Springfield. These are all dollars that should be spent on the classroom. We've got students with special education needs. We've got a huge turnover because teachers are not receiving, benefits that enable them to have a career there, right? To be honest with their family. If you can make $10,000 at another school a year more, and you're young in your career, over a lifetime that compounds into well over $100,000. It's irresponsible to your family to stay at that school, and that's untenable. That needs to change. The last thing I'll mention is that we have 3 schools that are under Youth Connections Charter School, one managed directly, and the others managed by charter management organizations. By your documents and what we've been able to FOIA and get at the table, YCCS is holding 18% of the funding. Now, if I got a teaching job in a school, and then I reached out to Jesse and I said, hey, Jesse, I got this teaching job. I'll tell you what, I'm going to hire you to do the teaching job. I'll pay myself 18% of the salary. And then you do that job, now I'll go get another teaching job. I don't understand what an operator, if the charter management organization is doing all the running of the school, what value these charter operators have. They're holding on to money that's making it very difficult for us to get to agreements that will make these schools strong and stable places. So in conclusion, I'd say I know that I believe that YCCS has a request before this board to reopen the charter that they've already had. I think we need alternative schools. I work at Latino Youth High School. That's the school I'm on release from. We need alternative schools inside the district where the teachers benefit from the large contract that the union negotiates. And, we really need to look at a model of having all of these alternative schools inside Chicago Public Schools. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barron. Mr. President, I will now continue with speakers from the speakers list, and I'll proceed by calling first speaker number 8, please, Mary Hughes, followed by parent speaker number 60, Jill Suzuki.
Hi, my name is Jill Stazuski. Sorry. I'm the mother of 5 children, and I brought 3 of my girls with me today, Nora, Lillian, and Claire. They're high-order multiples born at 31 weeks gestation, and according to CPS policy and birthday cutoffs, they're being placed in kindergarten this fall. I'm here because I absolutely disagree with that policy. They were born July 29th with a due date of October 7th. Developmentally, they will be 4 on September 1st. The first 6 months of their lives was focused on survival. They all suffered from chronic ear infections, leaving them unable to hear clearly, further delaying their development. They received 2 sets of tubes and classes in their first 3 years. These girls all have global delays and full IEPs. Teachers have all expressed concerns and have stated verbally that they all would benefit from an additional year of pre-K. Our pediatrician has expressed concerns about them being pushed into kindergarten too early based on their delays and has written letters to include at their files at school. IEP meetings have been expressive about concerns when it comes to placement. Their disclaimer is, quote, based on CPS policy, we're recommending kindergarten placement. The Illinois State Board of Ed has expressed on multiple occasions that they have all met the criteria to the additional year of pre-K. All of my girls struggle with anxiety, which they clearly get from their mother. The girls belong with their peers, but with their developmental age adjusted for their premature birth date, they will not be with those peers. As a parent, it is hard enough to have one child with special needs. I have 3. Having to run this gauntlet and get them appropriate placement is a disservice to my family, but mostly a disservice to my girls. Can you please let the team know that they can make a decision outside of CPS policy, because CPS policy is an impediment to their appropriate placement
Ms.
in their
Suzuki?
least restrictive environment.
Thank you very much. Chief McDade, are you familiar with this particular situation?
Mr. President, if I just interject, Mary Hughes is the next speaker on
Same
the
subject?
same topic.
Okay, why don't we hold?
Ms. Hughes?
Hi, I'm Mary Hughes. I'm the Special Ed Parent Liaison with Raise Your Hand, and I'm here today to address the ongoing fallout resulting from CPS's illegal special ed policies and procedures that led to the ISB monitor takeover of CPS Special Education Department. The special ed culture in CPS is corrupt. But despite the monitor's trainings and CPS's promises to make things right, there is often a culture of hardline denial from the legal department, the network, and at the school level. These inappropriate hardline denials force families to accept an inappropriate IEP or force them to scrabble and claw to get services and placements that are clearly appropriate. The situation Ms. Suzuki is facing with her triplets here is a perfect example. ISB allows for students with IEPs to receive this absolutely appropriate extra year of preschool, and that year of pre-K will give them the best chance of gaining pre-K readiness skills to succeed in the least restrictive environment of the gen ed kindergarten classroom. But they're being forced into kindergarten where they will need extensive supports and, statistically speaking, be likely to remain below grade level their entire academic career. Putting policy over student need is nonsensical. Once more, it's low-income Black and brown families who are often without knowledge, training, or other resources to navigate the time-consuming complaint process that necessary to overcome the strict and often senseless adherence to CPS policy. Please commit to transforming the special ed culture away from one of control and denial toward a culture that empowers IEP teams to give students what they clearly need.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes.
Chief McDade?
Yes, I have been made aware of this, and so we do have a parent specialist here to talk next steps with you about your girls. Lynn is going to meet you out in the foyer so that you guys can discuss that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll continue with the speakers list, and I'll call speaker number 1, please, Harion Medina, followed by speaker number 2, Greg White. We will then have speaker number 3, Josh Martyr, please. Mr. Medina?
Jerickson Medina, father of Jalise Medina. She's a 3rd grader at CICS Bucktown. So as a parent, my wife and I were looking for a teacher or a classroom, a school that were more intentional, approachable, and we found that in CICS Bucktown. You see, my daughter was diagnosed with mild autism, unable to speak full sentences, communicate with us and her classmates. And it was important for us just to communicate and know her heart. And now, due to the hard work and long hours and patience of the teachers with my daughter no longer needs the special need attention for her behavior part. She's only doing 1 hour every day outside her classroom. And because of her hard work, she's also number 1 in her class with math, Alexia. She finished competing with normal students, quote. And also my daughter right now is reading at a almost a fifth grader level. Today, my daughter is able to communicate with me in full sentences and know her heart. She's asking around the city why we have homeless people in the city, forced me to save some of our food and go give to them. And lately, she wants me to go to Africa and feed hungry children over there. So as a taxpayer, and when I found out the cuts being made to the CICS school, I have to ask myself why. As a taxpayer, I'm paying my taxes, and the taxes have gone up every single year for the past 3 years. And I believe that I, as a parent, should have the choice to send my daughter to any public school of my choice. And the lack of financial stewardship of the past administration shouldn't be the inconvenience of my daughter's education. So I just say, please, let's not cut the future of our children, but let's fund it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
very much.
Medina.
You should be very proud of your daughter. I'm sure you are. Thank you.
Our next speaker, please, Greg White.
Good morning, Greg White with Learn Charter School. We operate 7 schools on the west and south side of Chicago. Last year, I came to thank Dr. Jackson and the board for releasing the charter schools budgets at the same time the district budgets were released. It allowed us to hire, purchase, and plan and deliver academic excellence. This year, district schools have received their budget and charter schools have not. I have a simple request. Please release our budget so we can hire, purchase, and plan for this year. Second, on April 10th, we got really bad news that our fourth quarter payment will be cut by 38%. Instead of receiving $6.5 million in funding, we received $4 million, a loss of $2.5 million, devastating for us, for our students. As a result, we had to defer, delay, and deny critical expenses. Positions, special education, specialized services we could not fill, purchases we could not make, technology, materials, construction for ADA could not make because, again, $2.5 million we thought we're anticipating did not come. I'm thrilled to hear Ron Denard about the surplus CPS is generating this year. Unfortunately,
no, not a surplus. It's break even.
Okay, well,
I want to be really clear there. Break even.
Well, I will not be break even this year. In fact, we're going to have a negative net income. As a result, we're going to miss our financial covenants. We're going to have to dip into our cash reserves and really have unstable financial, and that is not good. The last piece is, I'm here because I'm deeply worried about next year. What do I assume about funding? Do I assume the funding amount received for the first 3 quarters, or do I assume the reduced amount received for the fourth quarter payment? The point is, we cannot plan for next year not knowing. The last piece is, I guess the question is, well, how should funding operate? I just simply say follow the state law, 97 to 103% PCTC. The law is clear. Our pro rata share of special ed funding and only deductions prescribed by law. The law is clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Thank you very much, Greg.
As our next speaker, Josh Marter, approaches the podium, I will call speaker number 19, please, Rhonda Hobbs, followed by speaker 39, Kyra Worthy, and speaker 49, Shanda Ross, and then we will have speaker number 5, please, Kristen Novy. Mr. Marter?
Hi, I'm Josh Marter, Director of Operations for Erie Elementary. We operate a single-site charter over in Humboldt Park. Just again, wanted to thank the board for allowing me to speak today, and also just wanted to add a sense of positivity to the ongoing negotiations that are happening. Dr. Jackson, we know the work that you've been doing there. Ms. Bradley, we also know the hard work that's going on here. And just wanted to speak a little bit about what budget cuts would mean to our school. As a single site, we're not talking about millions of dollars, but we're talking about several hundred thousands of dollars, which again, I just want to echo what the last speaker said, that small schools will run into similar problems with budget issues, with hiring concerns, with filling very important SPED positions, with simple things like, can we do field trips at the end of the year? Can we have a proper graduation ceremony? These are not choices that I think that we want to make, or that you want to make either, and we understand that the funding situation, charter versus district, is complex. It's multi-layered, and we're just hoping to see fair and adequate funding. And again, just wanted to express gratitude and positivity in the ongoing negotiation process. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Marter. And the next speaker, please, Rhonda Hobbs.
Good morning.
My name is Rhonda Hops, and I'm with Perspectives Charter Schools. We provide services for over 1,600 students on the south side of Chicago. First, I'd like to thank the Office of Innovation and encourage the board to approve the expansion of our Math and Science Academy to include the students at Young Women's Charter Schools. It's a very sad situation with Young Women's, but we believe that we've created something there that will be really special for those students going forward and to help them fulfill the remainder of their high school dreams that they have already started at Young Women's. On a more challenging note, I'm also here to talk about the cut to our fourth quarter payments. I have a somewhat unique stand because I have been part of the negotiating team for charters from last year, the steering committee. When CPS's concerns about the budget, the legality of the budgets was raised last year, while I don't agree that there's an issue, I understand CPS thinks there's an issue, but I did say, hey, let's knock out an agreement. Reasonable people can come to an agreement. Let's get it done before June 30th of last year so we'd be sure of funding. That wasn't able to occur because CPS wanted to work on a proposal, but I said, fine, I'll be on that committee that works on that, and was on that committee and met 4 times starting in July of last year through the end of November, through mid-November. At that point, I was like, yay, I think we've got an agreement. All we need to do is get the documentation done. Woohoo! I'm telling this also to my charter counterparts. Well, as we got into December, we did not get, according to the MOU, a documentation in writing from CPS with a proposal. We sent one. Charter School says submitted a proposal before December 31st, which was what was asked for in the MOU in order to keep this going. And we didn't hear anything for a few months, and I know a lot was going on in December and January of last year. So I'm understanding about that. I get it. And I understood that this needed to take a different route.
Ms. Hobbs, thank you.
You just wrap up.
Okay, thank you. I knew that we needed a delay, and that's fine. But we stood ready to re-engage, and once CPS started to provide alternatives, we were engaged in trying to go on the back and forth. That's why we were shocked when the April cuts happened, because we had been negotiating in good faith, and I personally know that I had been, and we want to have a solution, and we want to make sure that that happens. But the impact has really been disastrous for all of us at this point, and patently, to me, unfair, because we had been working on this process all year long and, don't know why it wasn't done before December 31st like we thought it would be.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hobbs. And the next speaker, please, Kyra Worthy.
Good morning. My name is Kyra Worthy. I am a sophomore attending Perspectives Math and Science Academy. MSA has been a great place for me to come to school because I've done better at MSA than any other school. MSA taught me a lot of things about being open-minded, being a lifelong learner, and demonstrating a strong work ethic. MSA changed my whole perception about school, and not just me, but also my classmates to feel and be successful. The teachers has impact all their students to believe that we will succeed and one day be legends at one point. As an MSA scholar, I've been doing multiple extracurricular activities from basketball all the way to being a majorette. And these extracurriculars gave me opportunities to resources in life, but also colleges and scholarships. I was asking if you guys could give my charter school our fundings back, because at some point we all asked ourselves, how can you say that students come first when you keep cutting fundings for teachers and programs for 2 months before the end of our school year? And I've done everything I was supposed to do as a student. And it's time for you guys to do the same as adults and as the board. And I deserve to make it through the rest of my year with all the fundings that we need.
What year are you in, did you say?
I'm a sophomore.
Public speaking is a very hard thing to do. You were outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
They have one additional speaker, Mr. President, if I may call Shanda Ross, please, speaker 49.
Hello, my name is Shonda Ross, and my son attends Perspective Math and Science Academy. The charter school has had a tremendous positive impact on my child. Jermaine is a scholar. He's an honor roll student, and before he started there, he wasn't. And Jermaine is now currently on a college trip as of right now. He's trying to get a full scholarship for his first year of college, and Perspective has really benefited from the MSA STEMS program, and I welcome the students from Young Women's Leadership Charter School to MSA so they can continue to have a great place to learn. I'm asking that CPS restore the cuts to MSA and all charters immediately. Charter schools have been working with CPS all year to figure out a new funding formula and even put a proposal to CPS in writing before its December deadline. I don't understand how CPS could even think of cutting my school's funding this late in the year when they made it seem like a deal was virtually complete in November last year. My child and the 60,000 plus students in charter schools should not face cuts in their classes and programs because CPS didn't meet its own deadline for providing a written proposal to charters last December. Jermaine is doing very good in this school, and I really recommend it to be continued funding for the Women's Leadership Charter School as well. He's doing excellent, and I really would appreciate if you would do something about those fundings. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Russ. Our next speaker is Ms. Novi, and as she approaches the podium, I will then call speaker number 10, please. Rather Stanton, speaker 11, Catherine Myers, speaker 14, Gordon Hannon. Ms. Novi?
Good morning. My name is Kristen Novi, and I'm the principal of Christopher House Elementary School, which is a single-site charter in the Belmont-Cragen neighborhood. We were established 6 years ago. And after serving as a teacher and leader in district-run schools for 10 years, I was fortunate to be able to lead this amazing school that truly takes the idea that charters can be places of innovation to heart. My school is part of a continuum that serves students and their families from as young as 6 weeks of age, and we provide immersive supports that our families count on. We carefully utilize every cent in our budget to ensure students have every resource to succeed. And as a leader who has served both district and charter schools, I can say that what we are doing is right for the students in our community. We are providing consistent and long-term, high-quality education for families in a way that is unique and that bridges the early childhood to elementary gap. Cutting our budget at this point in the year, I think I have a variety of reasons that I think have already been expressed and will be continued to be expressed by other speakers. But my main concern is just the insecurity for our students, our families, and our staff in having the cuts this late in the year and the impact that it will have as a single-site school, the services, and the interruption during high-stakes testing time. I do want to thank those who have been working tirelessly over the last few days and, of course, over the last year on this, trying to strike a deal that's fair for all of our students. And I implore these leaders to come to an agreement quickly that will allow us to move ahead as the one united district that we should be. As we move ahead with finalizing our long-term plan, I ask the board to ensure equity for each and every student in CPS. And I want to personally thank Dr. Jackson and Mary Bradley for their consistent and clear messaging that we are one district since the beginning of their tenures in their leadership roles. Thank you.
Thank you,
very
Ms.
much.
Novi. And the next speaker, please, Ms. Stanton. Mr. Stanton, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is President Clark and fellow board members, Dr. Jackson, Ms. Bradley. My name is Rather Stanton. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Legal Prep Charter Academy. I'm joined by a parent of one of our alums, Lenora Dennis. I'm here to first thank you all for your support over the last 7 years that Legal Prep has operated in West Garfield Park, and then express my concern for the cuts that were rolled out to Legal Prep and the rest of the school community, charter school community 2 weeks ago. First, I'd like to thank the board for supporting a single-site school like Legal Prep that utilizes its unique legal theme to engage our students in their high school education, make them active members of the community, and prepare them for college and post-secondary lives. With your support, Legal Prep has become a vital member of West Garfield Park and plays an important role in supporting our families and students in a neighborhood that is otherwise very under-resourced. So 2 weeks ago, I was very surprised and disappointed to receive a letter that 28% of our final quarterly payment was going to be withheld until we agreed with the legislative change on our charter funding. Legal Prep is in the heart of the West Garfield Park, and we learned very early on that the social and emotional needs of our students was something we needed to make a very big investment in. These types of cuts put those progress and the investment that we've made very much at risk. You've been very supportive of Chicago public education. You've done fantastic things. You've realized outstanding gains. Disinvesting in Legal Prep and our West Side students and the charter community as a whole with the $50 million cut should not be your legacy and not something that we should carry forth. I also served on the steering committee that worked on a solution in the fall. We agreed in principle on a new funding solution. I'm in favor of it. I think it was good for all parties. I'm encouraged that we're very close together and we'll be getting something done. I would ask the board to nudge everybody along so that we can make sure that we get something done. Again, Ms. Bradley and Ms. Jackson and everybody involved in that, I think we're moving in the right direction. I think we're going to get something done, but it's a very deep cut, and if it doesn't get solved, it would be very challenging. So thank you all for all of your support to Legal Prep and what we do on the west side, and thank you for your help with this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stanton. And the next speaker, please, Catherine Myers-Crum.
Hi, good morning. Or afternoon, I think now. I'm Catherine Myers-Crum, and I'm the Executive Director and founder of Great Lakes Academy. And we are all here today for the same reason. We're here because we support public education. We believe in the children of Chicago. We want to raise and educate and empower our future leaders, our future citizens. And to do this, all public schools need stable, certain, fair, equitable funding. Right now in Chicago, 16% of our children in CPS attend charter schools. And 16% of our kids just received a retroactive cut in April to their school funding. I have been running my school for 5 years. For those 5 years, we received a retroactive cut in April to the start of the year. How do you budget that way? You can't. 16% of our schools do not have a budget for the upcoming school year. I can't budget. You've just heard parents and school leaders say they can't budget. We're an excellent school. I have an amazing, hardworking staff. I invite any of you to come out anytime, see the hard work that our kids are doing. John Scott was there a couple weeks ago at our annual Poetry Slam. Our kids are working hard. Our families choose to come to our school, and they should not be punished for choosing to go to a charter school. We have to fund our schools equitably. We can't be taking in-kind deductions. It's not allowed under our statute. We have to make sure all our children are receiving funding for what they need, no matter what school they choose to attend. Charter schools, district schools, selective enrollment schools, magnet schools. There's uncertainty now in one very small sector, and that can't continue. So I'm asking you today, please ensure that we get our budgets back where they were promised at the start of the year, and that we get our budgets for the upcoming year in an equitable way for our students.
Thank you, Ms. Crum.
Thank you very much.
As the next speaker approaches the podium, Mr. Hannon, I will call Speaker 15, Garland Thomas McDavid, followed by Speaker 20, Michelle Navarre, and we will have Speaker 29, Angela Johnson Williams. Mr. Hannon?
Good afternoon. Gordon Hannon. I'm with Catalyst Charter Schools. We serve 1,600 students on the west side of Chicago and in the Marquette Park neighborhood. I myself, I'm a native Chicagoan. Been 25 years now back in Chicago in the private Catholic system as well in the public system. Teacher, principal, now CEO. I'm very proud to be part of CPS. I am also speaking to message number one, the urgency and the significance that we have to solve very quickly this Q4 charter funding issue. I will personally lock myself in this room with you if that's what it takes. But we have to do it. We have to do this. Message number two, if we don't, even the message right now, it undermines all the great success that our CEO and you have had with funding, with academics, with so many awesome things. Message number three, think about the optics of my 1,600 children and the 60,000 charter school students who have heard the message of the great management of Dr. Jackson, 2.5% increase, stable funding. What are they hearing? We just took $1,300 per child out of your pocket this year. We cannot pay past the month of May. What do? Reasonable, good people, which we all are, can do this without putting children in the crossfire. Whatever it takes, we're with you. We thank you. We need to solve this, preferably today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hannon.
Thank you very much.
And the next speaker, Speaker 15, Garland Thomas McDavid. Moving on to the next speaker, Michelle Navarre, speaker number 20, please.
Good afternoon, everyone.
15.
Board, CPS leadership,
really unfortunate that I have to be here under these circumstances. Like many of the people have said, I have great respect for the leadership of Mary Bradley and Dr. Jackson, but also have to be a responsible leader at North Lawndale and have to address that we lost almost $1 million seemingly out of nowhere. And every conversation since then, as well as a bunch of meetings and preparation for breaking financial covenants, have just distracted from already limited resources. And so have to be here to reinforce the message that's already been expressed again and again, that those funds were needed and already budgeted. Every conversation since then has been, we have to wait, we have to wait, we have to wait, we have to see, put a freeze on that, put a hold on that, we need to see. And I have continued to express a lot of faith in the current leadership that we can come to a resolution around this, and just want to remind everyone to continue to be reasonable and fair, continue to put the needs of all of your schools and all of your students ahead of confusion, and let's just expedite solutions and restore funds as soon as today, if possible. I do support equitable funding, and also wanted to address the gentleman who spoke from OIG, that we have conducted trainings as a charter school leader. We take that very seriously and are complying with the expectations of leadership. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And the next speaker, please, Michelle Navarre, speaker 20.
Michelle Navarre, 2005 Golden Apple Award winner, founder and head of School of Polaris Charter Academy on the West Side. Yesterday, I spent the day with our 7th and 8th graders participating in a middle school check-in to see how spring break went. I listened to stories of shots being fired through a student's bedroom window, a cousin being shot while one of my students was with them at a corner store, a 7th grader having to pull younger siblings to the floor as a barrage of gunfire opened up outside her house, students being stuck in their homes for more than 2 hours while the police cleared a body from the street. 7 of my students went to a funeral. 9 students were at a party they had to flee because shots were being fired there. Students shared traumatic story after traumatic story, and they shared them with me and their teaching assistant, a woman who they know, love, and trust, who serves as academic support, a mother, a counselor, and a trusted adult in their lives. And all the while I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about how I probably have to fire her because I no longer have the funding to afford student support staff in my school. I hear so much about equity in funding charter schools, yet we are experiencing profound inequity right now. Please understand that when you withhold funding or when you cut funding from our charter schools, you are harming CPS children in profound ways that I don't think you understand. So many of my students' lives are filled with instability that I can't control for. So we are trying to create a place of stability and community, but with the uncertainty of cuts to our charter funding or withholding of our charter funding, year over year over year, it makes it impossible for me to do that for my kids, and this has to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Navarre. And our next speaker, please, Angela Johnson-Williams. Before she begins, I will then call speaker number 6, please, Annie Gil-Bloyer, followed by speaker 45, Maria Servin Estrada. Thank you. Please proceed.
44,289 is the population in West Englewood. 36% have less than a high school education. 17% have a high school equivalent. 6% have less than 1 year of college. 7% have a bachelor's degree, and 4% have a master's degree. Good afternoon. My name is Angela Johnson-Williams, and I am the principal of Providence Englewood Charter School, which sits in the heart of the Englewood community. When I was asked to speak today, I was unsure about what I will say that would help to resonate the detrimental situation of the Q4 payment that will be cut. The numbers you've just heard and our population and education stats for West Englewood. These stats will only become worse as you continue to cut the necessary resources our children deserve in order to thrive and become educated, productive citizens able to take care of themselves and their families. Chicago children are in school for, at minimum, 6 hours a day. Thus, schools are not only meant to be a learning entity, but also to serve as a safe haven. Making any cut to funding to any school puts the academic progress and safety of our children at risk. Not receiving a full quarter four payment will personally subject me to making cuts at my school, staff cuts, program cuts. Personnel and program cuts are the heart of what we do to keep our students safe and to keep them learning and closing that achievement gap. Chicago Public Schools acts as a LEA for charters and should protect the children that it serves equally. CPS should never think about, let alone cut funding for students who need the resources the most. To cut funding means to limit resources necessary to create impactful learning environments that will in turn create productive citizens who add to a positive and promising stats for their communities. It is my hope that you reconsider that quarter four payment and any future cuts for charter schools of the like.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, please. Speaker number 6, Annie Gill-Bloyer.
Well, while we get this group settled in, can we get an update, Dr. Jackson, on sort of where that, because we've had several speakers?
I can provide a few clarifying points, and then I'd ask Arnie to maybe provide a little bit more perspective on the process and how we got here. But the first thing, as I stated in my opening remarks, I too, as well as the entire group of officials here in CPS, share the concerns that were outlined today. And I want to restate that this is a matter of equity. And there have been some things that have been conveniently left out of some of the talking points today that I think warrant amplification. I think the first thing that's important to note is the mischaracterization of these as cuts. We signed MOUs with every single charter operator that was represented here today, as well as everyone in our district, that basically said the law clearly says that that this is what they will be given this year. So to ask us to pay more than that and then on the back end ask for an addition next year is just not where we want to be. And we were under the impression that everybody understood that early on. And I do think it was an accurate representation from the speakers that something changed in recent weeks that has us at this point. But I want to be clear that we signed an MOU and that CPS has been transparent and engaging with this group from the beginning. We want to restore the additional funds that everyone has talked about for the fourth quarter payment, but legally, the same statute that they are fighting for precludes us from doing that. And so we want to have an honest conversation about how we can make the necessary adjustments so that we can adequately fund schools this year, but also make sure that we don't disproportionately fund charter schools next year as compared to our district schools. That's our obligation as the local education authority here in Chicago. And we have to make sure that all of our schools get access to the same amount of money to fund their schools. And so I just want to make sure that all of the facts are in the public domain because this is very serious. We understand the consequences, but we also hope that that serves as a motivator for both of us to get a deal done. And I'm very confident that that's going to happen in the near future.
Thank you, Dr. Jack. Does it answer your question?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Annie Gill-Bloyer. I'm a parent at Newfield Primary School, which is a level 1+ pre-K to 4th grade neighborhood school in Rogers Park, where I also serve as the chairperson of the LSC. But today I'm representing a parent and community group known as Unite the Fields. In 2016, there was a proposal to close Eugene Field, which is the 5th through 8th grade school that Newfield feeds into. Hundreds of parents from Newfield and Eugene Field rallied under an alternative proposal. Unite our two schools under one administration in both buildings to create the kind of continuity of curriculum, climate, culture, and high expectations that the children of our attendance area deserve. At that time, Eugene Field's SQRP rose briefly, and the closure proposal was scrapped. Since that time, despite efforts to improve communication, collaboration, and articulation between the schools, the needle has not begun to move in a positive direction on enrollment or student growth at Eugene Field. With only 157 students, it is 23% utilized. By contrast, Newfield's enrollment of 660 students makes it 105% utilized. The sad reality is that parents at Newfield continue to see Eugene Field as an option of last resort for middle school. As a parent who's been deeply invested and involved in both schools for 6 years, I'm keenly aware of this dynamic. Newfield experiences significant attrition as families anticipate needing to find a better option after 4th grade. The most motivated and engaged families are the ones that we lose from our neighborhood schools, and I am one of those parents. My son finished 4th grade at Newfield last June, and since kindergarten, I had hoped, volunteered, and prayed toward the goal of seeing Eugene Field become a middle school that I could send my child to with confidence. But it was clear to me that under the current structure and the current administration that there was no evidence of growth or change at Eugene Field, and we had to make the agonizing decision to send him away from our neighborhood school. I still have a 2nd grader at Newfield, and I continue to hold out hope that Newfield and Eugene Field
Ms.
put
Boyer?
together, I'm finishing right here, become a premier pre-K to 8th grade neighborhood school, and in just a few weeks of gathering signatures, 265 parents from both schools, as well as neighbors, have signed our petition to unite the fields, and that number is growing daily. I believe you all have been given a copy of our petition, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Boyer. They have one additional speaker, Mr. President. Maria Servina Estrada, please.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Servina Estrada, soy madre de una niña que asiste en la escuela Newfield de 4º grado y hoy estoy aquí representando a los padres y a la escuela Newfield y Eugene Field y a la comunidad de Rogers Park, haciendo la petición a CPS que fusione las dos fields en una sola escuela. Los dos edificios escolares de preescolar a 8º grado, que el mejor futuro para nuestros niños y las familias de Rogers Park sería unir a ambas escuelas de Newfield y Eugene Field, bajo una estructura y administración como años anteriores. Mis hijos mayores asistieron a la escuela Eugene Field en los años 1998 hasta el 2008. El más pequeño tuvo la suerte de estrenar la escuela Newfield y continuar sus estudios en Eugene Field, y esto a él le ha dado buenos resultados. Queremos que nuestros niños se sientan confiados que recibirán una buena educación académica desde pre-kinder hasta 8º grado y no sientan la inseguridad de buscar otras opciones para continuar sus estudios para los grados de escuelas intermedias. Una buena estructura a nuestros niños los guía a ser unos buenos estudiantes. Es por eso que pedimos el apoyo a CPS, la unión de las escuelas Newfield y Eugene Field. Estas dos comunidades escolares serían más fuertes unidas porque la unión hace la fuerza. Y queremos que ustedes nos apoyen y hagan lo mejor para el futuro de nuestros hijos.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Servina Estrada. I'm the mother of a 4th grader that attends Newfield Elementary School. I'm here on behalf of Newfield and Eugene Field's parents and the Rogers Park community to ask CPS to merge both Newfield and Eugene Field Elementary Schools so that they could both function as one pre-K through 8th grade school under one administration. By doing so, we believe that we could provide a better future for our children and families. My children attended Eugene Field School from 1998 until 2008. My youngest son was fortunate enough to attend Newfield when it first opened, and eventually he continued his education at Eugene Field, where he got good grades. We want our kids to feel confident that they will receive a good education from pre-K through 8th grade, and won't have to worry about looking for other options to enroll in middle school. A strong school structure will allow students to perform better in school. Therefore, we ask the support from CPS to merge both Newfield and Eugene Field. These community schools will become stronger because union is strength. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speakers, Mr. President, will be speaker number 7, please, Karen Ratliff, followed by speaker 25, Cara May, and then we have speaker 32, Matthew Williams, and then we will have speaker number 44, Joy Clendenning.
Hi, good afternoon, board. Thank you so much to the board and Dr. Jackson. Thank you, Mary Bradley, for your leadership. My name is Dr. Karen Ratliff. I am the current president or chair of the Art in Motion Charter School. Thank you so much for approving the charter school on last year. But the purpose of today is to ask that you will approve the facility for the charter school. We have found an ideal space that can grow with our student body over the next 5 years in the Grand Crossing / South Shore communities. We are committed to providing a safe space with state-of-the-art programming for our students. The proposed facility includes spaces designed to foster a love of learning for middle through high school. We have remained steadfast and dedicated to serving families throughout these communities, and the AIM Board believes that the community can be transformed by the presence of an excellent school, and we want to join hands with the community and other educators to make an impact in the lives of our students there. Our board is rooted in the power of partnership and collaboration, and we look forward to hearing from you, hopefully with an approved facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ratliff. Our next speaker, please, Kara May.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Kara May, and I'm the proposed director of Art in Motion Charter School. I want to thank you for last year's approval for our school. This experience has been a thrill for me and our startup team. We've dreamed of opening an arts-infused school and spent the years solidifying a plan to make that dream become a reality. After an exhaustive search and much collaboration with the community, we found an ideal location. Our facility will support the school's arts programming and ensure that students have a safe and secure environment in which to thrive and learn. We are committed to closing the opportunity gap. This proposed facility will meet students where they are both academically and socially and level the playing field through personalized learning, flexible spaces, and one-to-one technology. Art in Motion will provide access to opportunities students wouldn't typically have. Our location will have creative studios to provide innovative arts opportunities for learning in visual arts, music, dance, literary arts, and digital media. Finally, Art in Motion will elevate wellness and cultivate a strong learning and working culture by actively embedding artistic, cultural, linguistic, and social emotional learning supports throughout the instructional day. On behalf of our entire team, we look forward to final approval and to welcoming our wonderful students in the fall. We are committed to creating unparalleled opportunities for student success with our new school. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. May. And the next speaker, Matthew Williams, please.
Hello, good afternoon, Board. My name is Matthew Williams, and I am a member of the Board of Directors of the Art in Motion Charter School. On behalf of the Art in Motion Board of Directors, thank you for last year's approval to our school. It has been an exciting year for the Board of AIM as we get close to achieving our dream of bringing an art school to the south side of Chicago and provide students and families with the creative learning community to which to build their futures. We have community partners who are ready to collaborate and create a school environment that will be nationally recognized for supporting and elevating students who need opportunity and access to high-quality education. After an extensive search to identify a home for AIM, working in tandem with Alderman Harris and our office, our board has secured an ideal site for Art in Motion to ensure a successful opening for the school year 2019-2020. We are dedicated to serving families throughout the greater Grand Crossing community and look forward to welcoming our first students this fall. Our facility will support the school's arts programming and ensure that students have a safe and secure environment in which to thrive and learn. The proposed facility includes spaces designed to foster a love of learning from middle school through high school. Our classrooms will support a personalized learning experience to ensure each student has the instructional and social emotional supports they need to be successful. Our creative studios will provide innovative arts opportunities for learning in visual arts, music, dance, literary arts, digital media, and creative agency. This facility will support our balanced curricular approach of creative arts, social emotional development, and student achievement through personalized learning. AIM will provide comprehensive performing arts curriculum and student services before, during, and after the school day, plus weekend programming. Students will select a personalized arts path, achieve mentoring daily, and learn from arts experts in a workshop setting. Our facility also supports the board's vision to provide students from the greater Grand Crossing community and surrounding neighborhoods access to curriculum that provides intensive support to accelerate
Mr.
achievement.
Williams?
Can I wrap it up?
Please.
Okay, yeah. Performance and college preparedness. On behalf of the Art in Motion Board of Directors, we look forward to final approval for the Art in Motion in service of our Southside communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. As Ms. Clendenning approaches the podium, I will call speaker number 12, please, Helena Stagel, followed by 16, Gloria Correa. We'll have speaker 36, Elena Garrifas, followed by speaker 13, Tainika Williamson. Ms. Clendenning?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joy Clendenning with Raise Your Hand. So, this is the last unelected Board of Ed meeting under Mayor Emanuel. Wow, it's a really big day. Everyone here in this room, this is a historic day. We definitely want to give a shout out to all of you who are here to speak at the board today. It's really a big sacrifice to take your time out and be down here today. A huge shout out to the people in the overflow room, to the hardworking teachers, admin, and staff who are doing so much for our kids every day. It's my last year as a CPS parent, 18 years. I'm so thankful to the people on the ground. You're just incredible. To the community organizations who we've learned so much from and who've been working for decades for the schools our kids deserve, and to all CPS parents who are doing their best to do right by their children. These are our kids, these are our schools, and it's our city. Okay, so to the board, we do need to call you out on a couple things today. You're, we think, going to approve, yet again, an unvetted contract for the politically connected vendor, AUSL, and you're going to expand charter seats again, this time on the south and west side, while this district continues to face declining enrollment. However, soon we're going to have a new mayor. We're hoping this will mean the end of this portfolio choice business model district with its focus on competition, efficiency, privatization, which result in CPS's own Hunger Games. We've written a memo to the new mayor, which is being given to you. And in this, we call for a switch to a sustainable community schools district. I'll say that again because it's a different way of thinking about our schools, a sustainable community schools district. To get there, we probably need a truth and reconciliation process and reparations for harm done.
Ms. Clendenning?
I have just one more line. And for specifics of a path forward, we refer you to that memo that we've written to the mayor-elect. Thanks so much for being here today, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker, please, Elena Stagel.
President Clark, board members, my name is Helena Stengel. I'm the Chief External Affairs Officer for Aceto Schools. We speak today on behalf of the 7,500 students and 700 educators and staff of Aceto Schools, one of the highest performing public charter school networks in the city of Chicago. I'm here with a great sense of urgency and concern about CPS's decision to withhold a significant portion of our fourth quarter payment from our students, educators, and schools. This decision was communicated with only a couple days of notice, and it impacts Aceto Schools to the tune of $6 million or $800 per student. 8 months ago, Aceto Schools agreed to join CPS, focused on again overhauling public charter school funding. We've also sought and are eager to receive transparent information on how this would impact in the short and long term our students who are 93% Latino, 89% economically disadvantaged, 46% English language learners, and 12% diverse learners. The MOU that Dr. Jackson referenced did not include a declaration of agreement with CPS's interpretation of the law, but we certainly are very willing to continue that collaboration because our students and our families deserve equity. They demonstrate, given opportunity, what they can do, therefore enabling 87% of Aceto schools to be level 1 and 1+, 93% as designated commendable by the Illinois School Report Card, and exceed the national average and most often district schools in NWEA growth in reading and math. Our students, our educators, and yes, public charter schools like Aceto are 100% deserving of all of our support. So on behalf of our families and their communities of Brighton Park, Pilsen, Little Village, Gilwood, Avondale, Gage Park, Humboldt Park, Archer Heights, and Rogers Park, we ask for fair, equitable, and a quick resolution to this matter. At the very least, it's in the interest of this body to do that. I know my time's up, but I want to reference two things. Rhonda Hops submitted for the record a letter from the charter school community. You'll see that it's inclusive of 25 signatures, echoing what we've shared today. And lastly, related to the matter that the OIG referenced, how it's so incredibly important. And I want you to know that Aceto Schools takes very, very seriously what the OIG referenced and has enjoyed a collaborative relationship with CPS and done our own training in this space. So know that charters are stepping up in that arena as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Stagel. Our next speaker, please, Gloria Correa.
Buenos días, Presidente Clark, designados y miembros de la Junta, doctora Jackson.
Good morning, President Clark, distinguished board members, and Dr. Jackson.
Mi nombre es Gloria Correa. Estoy aquí el día de hoy para hablar acerca de la escuela de mi hijo Soto High School, la cual es parte de la red de las escuelas Acero. Mi hijo Nathan Correa actualmente se encuentra cursando el tercer año de preparatoria y ha estado asistiendo a Soto High School desde el sexto grado, ya que él actualmente, entonces la escuela ofrecía grados de 6 a 12.
My name is Gloria Correa, and I'm here today to talk about my son's school, Soto High School, which is part of the Aceto Schools Network. My son, Nathan Correa, is now in his junior year, and he has been attending Soto since he was in 6th grade, and at that time, the school was 6th through 12th grade school.
Soto es una excelente escuela. Estoy muy orgullosa de que mi hijo asista a la misma. Para mí, lo más sobresaliente acerca de su experiencia es el fuerte énfasis en la educación, la tecnología en su salón de clases.
Soto is an excellent school, and I am proud to send my son here. What stands out to me the most about his experience there is the major emphasis on including technology in the classroom.
Ahora que está llegando al final del tercer año de la preparatoria, Nathan está deseando ir a la universidad. Estamos agradecidos de que Soto le haya preparado para estudiar más allá de la preparatoria. Su consejero ha sido de gran ayuda para mantener informada a nuestra familia acerca de cómo navegar en ese proceso. Estamos emocionados por lo que el futuro le depara a Nathan.
Now that he's coming to an end of his junior year, Nathan is looking ahead to college, and we are grateful that Soto has prepared him to study beyond high school. His counselors have been very helpful in keeping our family informed about how to navigate this process, and we're excited about what the future holds for Nathan.
Más allá de la experiencia de mi hijo en Soto, mi esposo y yo estamos agradecidos en la escuela. En la escuela ha hecho hasta lo imposible para involucrar a los padres. Somos parte del comité de padres, asistimos a las reuniones mensuales para mantenernos informados acerca de lo que pasa en la escuela y para proporcionar nuestras opciones, el personal y la dirección.
Beyond my son's experience with Soto, my husband and I appreciate the school has gone out of the way to involve parents. We are part of the parent committee and attend monthly meetings to keep informed about what's happening at the school and provide our input to school staff and leadership.
Quiero compartir a todos con esto con CPS y la Junta porque la escuela charter no están recibiendo el apoyo que merecen por el fantástico trabajo que han recibido nuestros hijos. Los estudiantes de la escuela charter merecen los mismos recursos y financiamiento que los estudiantes de CPS, pero eso no ha sucedido. Estoy aquí para pedir a la Junta que otorgue fondos justos a nuestros estudiantes y para que liberen millones de dólares que les están siendo retenidos a nuestros estudiantes. Las familias de la escuela charter en Chicago son residentes en la ciudad, tanto como aquellos cuyos hijos asisten a las escuelas de la comunidad. Les ruego que otorguen un trato justo a la escuela de mi hijo.
I wanted to share all this with the CPS and the board because charter schools are not receiving the support they deserve for the amazing jobs that they are doing educating our kids. Charter school students deserve the same resource and funding as CPS students, but that hasn't happened. I'm here to call on the board to fund our students fairly and release the millions of dollars that are being withheld from our charter schools. Charter school families in Chicago are residents of this city, just like families attending neighborhood schools. I urge you to give fair treatment to my son's school.
Thank you, Ms. Correa.
Thank you very
Next
much.
speaker, Ms. Garifas, please.
Buenas tardes, Presidente Clark, distinguidos miembros de la Junta y Dr. Jackson.
Good morning, President Clark, distinguished board members, and Dr. Jackson.
Mi nombre es Elena Garfias. Estoy aquí el día de hoy para hablar acerca de la escuela de mi hijo Diego y acerca del financiamiento para las escuelas charter. Diego cursa el tercer año de preparatoria en high school, la cual es parte de la red de escuelas Acero. Él ha estado asistiendo a Soto desde el sexto grado.
My name is Elena Garfias. I am here today to talk about my son Diego's school and about the charter school funding. Diego is in his junior year at Soto High School, which is part of the Acero Schools Network. He has attended Soto since he was in sixth grade.
Yo estoy muy contenta con Soto. Elegí enviar a Diego ahí por varias razones. Se trata de una escuela de alta calidad que le brinda un desafío académico a mi hijo. También aprecio que exigen uniformes escolares y la forma en que los maestros y personal administrativo les brinda una estructura a los estudiantes. Esto permite que los estudiantes de verdad se enfoquen en destacarse en su educación.
I'm very happy with Soto. I chose to send Diego there for a variety of reasons. It is a high-quality school that challenges my son academically. I also appreciate that they require school uniforms and the way teachers and administrators provide structure for the students. This allows the students to really focus on excelling in their education.
Hago todo lo que puedo para apoyar a la escuela, ya sea participando como voluntaria en eventos escolares o asistiendo a estas reuniones de la Junta para abogar por un financiamiento justo. También soy miembro del Comité de Padres, donde asisto a reuniones mensuales para estar informada sobre qué es lo que pasa en la escuela de mi hijo.
I do all that I can to support the school, whether it is volunteering at my son's school events or attending these board meetings to advocate for equitable funding. I am also a member of the parent committee where I attend monthly meetings to stay informed on what is occurring at my son's school.
Estoy muy comprometida con la educación de mi hijo, así que cuando me enteré de que la CPS está reteniendo fondos de la escuela de mi hijo, me vi motivada a dar mi opinión. Los estudiantes de la escuela charter son estudiantes de CPS, por lo tanto se merecen una asignación de fondos justa y equitativa.
I am very invested in my child's education, so when I found out the CPS is holding funds for my child's school, I had to speak up. Charter school students are CPS students and therefore deserve to receive fair and equitable funding.
Es importante que CPS apoye a las escuelas que están teniendo éxito en proporcionarles a los estudiantes una educación de alta calidad. Esto es especialmente importante cuando las escuelas sirven a comunidades en desventaja. Todos los estudiantes no tienen muchas opciones disponibles.
It is important that CPS supports schools that are succeeding at providing students with a high-quality education. It is especially important when those schools serve disadvantaged communities where students don't have many options.
Les ruego que liberen los fondos que CPS actualmente les está reteniendo a Soto High School y a las escuelas charter en todo Chicago. Muchas gracias.
I urge you to release the funding that CPS is currently withholding from Soto High School and charter schools across Chicago. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. As the next speaker approaches the podium, Tynika Williamson, I will call speaker number 17, please, Tamara Roust, followed by speaker 18, Tanika Meeks, and then speaker 26, Olamide Babutande.
Good afternoon. My name is Tanika Williamson, and I am a proud parent of two Noble School students, one who is a sophomore at Butler College Prep, and another that is a senior at Gary Comer College Prep. I am here to talk about my experience with the Noble Schools and the care that they put into the college application process. Gary Comer has gone above and beyond my expectations on how a high school will support a student and their families through the application process. At Noble, there is an entire college team dedicated to giving my son into and through college. They've helped Ivan with the FAFSA process, college essays, and worked with him to select the schools he applied to. The counselors are proactive in their approach to meet my son's needs and to ensure that his parents are looped in on the process the entire time. The experience that I had with Gary Comer College Prep led me to send my youngest daughter to another Noble school at Butler College Prep. where I know she will get the same kind of attention and support when it's time to start the college process. It is important for my kids to go to college, get degrees, that they can be self-sufficient and independent, because I can't take care of them forever, nor do I want to. I have done my time. I am grateful for them to have the opportunities that I didn't have when I was in high school. The Noble schools are giving students and families opportunities that help them reach their dreams. Please release the funds that Noble needs to continue the work that supports families like mine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Williamson.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your public service. My name is Tammy Roust, and I'm a parent of a third grader at Ogden Elementary and a 4-year-old in a private pre-K. I'm happy to hear about the early preschool expansion. My neighborhood is on the last year of the rollout. I'm here speaking on behalf of my 4-year-old, who has attended pre-K this year and would like to attend kindergarten with her sister at her sister's school this fall, but is prevented from doing so only because she was born in October. As you know, the Accelerated Placement Act, which Illinois passed in 2017, has provisions for admitting children like my 4-year-old into kindergarten. School districts like Tinley Park and Elmhurst have developed criteria for admitting students born between September and the end of the year into kindergarten and have implemented these criteria for the current 2018-2019 school year. I know CPS has been working on their own implementation of the Accelerated Placement Act for some time, and the board plans to vote on it in June, so it will be in place for the 2019-2020 school year. I appreciate the sessions CPS is having this week to inform families about the Accelerated Placement Act. I cannot state how important this is for kids who fall into that September to December birthday pool. I'm sure not everyone in this situation can afford to send their kids to private pre-K, and implementing some additional criteria beyond chronological age for admitting kids to kindergarten will help ensure more kids get access to public education where it is developmentally appropriate. I understand there will need to be criteria for those who seek this accelerated placement, but having a process for determining who is eligible for accelerated placement supports parents who are seeking the state-required access.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Roust. Next speaker, please, Tanika Meeks.
Good afternoon. My name is Tanika Meeks. I'm a parent of a current 7th grader who I am planning on sending to Hansberry College Prep, a Noble school. Because of the excellent education that my cousin received while attending there, my cousin Ryan Townsend graduated from Hansberry last year and now is attending Illinois State University. Ryan was an honor student at Hansberry and received a lot of support for applying for colleges. Ryan makes a point to come back to Hansberry and volunteer. I am a Noble advocate because Ryan is a Noble advocate. At Noble schools, they have advisors who mentor and guide students throughout their high school experience. Ryan became close with her advisors and still check in with her to make sure she is doing well in college, so she checks in to make sure that she's doing well in college. So they are supporting her. Noble schools are becoming family schools where brothers, sisters, and cousins are choosing to attend. I went to Springfield to advocate for the changes that were made last year so charter schools can finally get their funding we deserve. Please give Noble the funding that we fought for so that my son Tyler can yet be a successful story. Thank you.
Thank you very
Ms.
much.
Meeks. Our next speaker, please. As he approaches the podium, I'll call speaker 21, Irma Cornier, 22, Erica Pugh, 23, Peggy Salazar, and speaker 30, Brittany Gomez. Thank you. Please proceed.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olamide Babatunde. I'm the director of the Alumni Career Office at Noble Network of Charter Schools. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the work that we've been doing over the past 3 years and some of the results we've seen so far. In 2016, we created this Alumni Career Office to better support our 12,600 alumni who've now graduated from Noble. In that same year, we found that only 41% of our college graduates, unfortunately, had a full-time job or enrolled into graduate school after 6 months of graduating from college. Happy to say after 1 year of doing that work, we were able to raise that percentage to 67%. Then after 2 years of doing this work, we were able to raise that percentage to 76% of our college graduates getting a full-time job or an offer to go to graduate school after 2 years. So how do we do this? We do this through a variety of different ways, helping them edit their resumes, helping them prepare for mock interviews, and helping them partner with local Chicago employers to make sure they get internship experience. Next year, we're hoping to raise this goal to 80% of our college graduates to get a full-time job or an offer of graduate school. And I'm here today to ask for a quick and speedy resolution to the fourth quarter payments for charter schools so that we can continue doing this work in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Babatunde. Our next speaker, please, Speaker 21, Irma Cornier. Last call. Moving on to Speaker 22, Erica Pugh, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erica Pugh. I'm here again, first off, to say that CPS failed me as a CPS mom once again, as well as AUSL. My daughter, March 28th, was attacked by 3 students, female students. Hold up. Let me get this together. By 3 female students, March 28th. To be found outside by my neighbor, carried home, to be put in the hospitalized afterwards, with 2 missing teeth, gashes to her legs, and a concussion. And still in all, where there was 4 security guards on the property on the field by the name of Mr. White, also by the name of Mrs. Owsley, by the name of Mrs. Hicks. What's his name? I want to make sure I get everybody's name. Mr. Patterson and Mr. Nixon. And still, my daughter no one reached out back to me. I sent emails out to AUSL as well as some of the staff at the Board of Education. Nothing was done. Only thing was gave to me through one of my children's book bags sent home was a false incident report saying that my daughter had been into an altercation, saying that she was the aggressor. But they didn't even know anything about my daughter was in the hospital. They never reached out to even see where she was located. They never even notified me that she wasn't even in the school. My neighbor had to carry her home. What I'm getting to is that they never said anything. Right now, my daughter have not been back to school because I have nothing happened. No disciplinary actions was taken on no one on their behalf. Nothing happened. It's just
Ms. Pugh.
It's just recovering from her injuries. No, nothing. So what anyone gonna do? I keep coming here. I've been coming since September about different actions and different bullying and harassment been going on at Harvard School of Excellence, and no one did nothing. And I'm sitting here now when my daughter trying to make sure she's okay, worrying about headaches every day from being stumped out by 3 students. But I get a letter saying that my daughter was the aggressor. No, I'm saying one more. I'm saying what I got. I got a false letter report saying that my daughter attacked someone just to cover them. They never even called me saying my daughter left the school. I don't say 2 hours.
2 hours later.
Yes. Now you know what? Who I spoke with? I would like to speak. Who I speak? Miss Michelle, and she said.
Yeah, let me stop you for a moment.
offered.
Let me stop you.
They offered for my daughter to switch school. Why is my daughter switching school when you all can go in there?
Let me stop you for a moment,
and
please.
fix what's the problem?
Yeah, let me stop you for a moment. Jadine, are you aware of this?
No. I'm not the most recent. No. Miss Chow, I always reach out to you.
Well, she's the person that's most responsible for this. Jadine, is this something new? Go with them, get their information outside of the room to make sure we understand what's happening.
Yeah, because she hasn't been in school in going on 3 weeks.
I don't doubt that. So would you take them outside the room? And
missing teeth.
thank you very much. Would you?
Thank you. Our next
would you go
speaker,
to our
please.
next speaker?
Right, they're not. I can't. No, I understand that, but I came here so many times.
Would you take them out?
We're going to take them out. Let that be your child get straight home. That's the only thing you
And,
about transferring the child instead of dealing with the issue. You always talking about transferring the child. Why can't you fire the principal?
Who's our next speaker?
Our next speaker, Mr. President, 23, please, Peggy Salazar.
Thank you.
Up there, oversized college. Child get beat up and all you can do is laugh. Joke. All he do.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Peggy Salazar. I am a resident of the 10th Ward as well as a community activist. Some of you might recognize me. I was here just a few meetings ago, and I didn't expect to be back, but here I am. And why? For the same reasons I was here before. Grissom School is overcrowded. It remains, it has a lack of physical space. That hasn't changed any since I was here, as well as a lack of resources that provide for an optimal learning environment. The Band-Aid approach that the board offered the school, which was to provide 2 additional teaching positions, has been less than satisfactory. One still isn't even filled. Grissom School, which is a designated fine arts school, continues to have its music taught and shared in a library. It also now has the art teacher putting supplies on a cart and pushing it from room to room. So how is that a fine arts school? It continues to, and it still has classrooms being shared by multiple teachers, which is really unacceptable. To have 2 classrooms going on concurrently in one classroom, that's totally unacceptable. It's a school that, due to lack of space, has no technology programs or science labs. That's almost unheard of in today's education system. Okay, these, I'm sorry, I just have a bad cold. So the point is that the school, the remedies that the board provided are less than satisfactory. There's just no doubt. We're here today to ask that you commit to providing the funding for those additional teachers' positions for next year. So that's first and foremost. And secondly, that you provide the necessary demountables that will add the physical space that's needed at the school.
Ms.
And
Salazar?
that be done in September. And that be done until an annex can be built. We need our children to be prepared for the 21st century. And currently in the environment at that school, it's not happening. I don't think that's too much to ask for. And if it's a matter of funding, I highly doubt that's an issue, given that our CEO just signed off on the Lincoln Yards TIF, which will guarantee foregoing millions and millions of dollars to the school system in the future. So I don't think it's asking for too much.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Brittany Gomez, and I am a parent to a preschooler at Grissom Elementary. We have been fighting for the quality of education our children are receiving. The solutions the board has given us leave us unsatisfied. Recently, to relieve overcrowding, art was put on a cart, and our bilingual teacher was put in a meeting room in which days of IEP meetings and such, she will be without a class and in the hallways and teacher's lounge. Our 5th grade was split in half and put in our only mobile unit, in which mushrooms are growing out of, water damage is all over the ceiling, and the looks of mold spread the walls. We are worried about our children's health and safety with these conditions. I graduated from Grissom in 2005, and the mobile unit was placed there when I was a child, so at least 20 years ago or more. These units are supposed to be temporary. Grissom has the space to expand. We are requesting an annex to be built so the much-needed programs at our fine and performing arts school can be implemented, and Grissom can live up to its name. Temporarily, we are asking for a new mobile unit. Last month at our LSC meeting, a representative from CPS came and spoke on how our overcrowding issue is a bubble, and according to your study, in which we are requesting to see this document, within the next couple years, enrollment will decline. I'm here to tell you that this is not the case. Ford Motor Company, which is walking distance from Grissom, is currently doing a $1 billion expansion, and next month, ground will be breaking for a new company in which will bring 1,500 or more jobs. which means more families and children will be brought to our neighborhood and the condition will only worsen. These class sizes were present 15 to 20 years ago when I attended Grissom, presently, and I can guarantee you it's in our future. Another thing we are unhappy with is it has been proposed to expand and move pre-K. Although we are happy at the thought of an expanding program, it is unacceptable to move to a building that has been vacant for years, not up to code, and has no gated or outside area for our children to go
Ms.
out
Gomez?
safely. I only have one more sentence. To go out safely for recess or gym. And also, it's not even in our district. It is not fair for parents, grandparents who do not drive and who also have school age and preschoolers to travel between two schools. We ask to please stop taking things away from us and to help us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Our next speakers, Mr. President, will be speaker number 24, please, Katrina Wright, followed by speaker 27, Sheldon House, and speaker 28, Arnie Stiber. Katrina Wright, last call. Moving on to the next speaker, Sheldon House, last call. Mr. Stiber, please. I'll then call speaker 33, Josefina Tercero, followed by speaker 42, Erlinda Arriaga, and then we'll have speaker number 35, Andrea Smith.
I guess everybody got hungry or tired. I don't know. My name is Arnie Stiber, and I'm the coordinator for the Chicago chapter of Veterans for Peace. And I was in the Army, in the infantry, in the U.S. war against the people of Vietnam. I'm here today to speak about peace and against militarization, particularly the militarization of youth. CPS has over 8,000 youth in some form of military training, either in junior ROTC or even in cadets, which is middle school, which is really young children. And it's really a feeder system to the military, even though they don't like to say that, both in terms of youth bodies being sucked in and the culture that's developed when the youth are in junior ROTC. The youth, their families, and the community learn about the military via that program. And what the well-paid consultants hired by the military promote, and people learn, is the sunny side of the military. Patriotism, leadership, discipline, a career. I have all those in quotation marks. What they don't hear is the dark side. Death, destruction, oppression, violence, inhumanity. The military is sacrosanct in this country. No one talks about the dark side. And it's also wrapped in the flag. You can't hardly talk about the military without seeing the flag waving. And when I was in the military, I never learned about the culture of the people of Vietnam. I always heard that they were bad, enemy, kill them all. And we did. 2 million of them.
Mr. Stiber?
Yes.
Thank you for your comments.
Education, not militarization.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please, Josefina Tercero.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Josefina Tercero. Vengo de la escuela Wiria. También pertenezco a la Academia de Padres en Liderazgo y pertenezco al concilio escolar de la misma.
My name is Josefina Tercero from the Whittier School. She also is involved with the Academy for Parents and also the local school council at her school.
Más que nada, la visita que les estamos haciendo ahorita es para exponerles 2 puntos. El primero es que todos los padres y que venimos aquí queremos ver si se puede darle acceso a un intérprete asignado y poder darnos auriculares para poder disponer de lo que se está hablando, porque hay veces que venimos y no hay intérpretes y eso es una cosa muy difícil para nosotros.
We have come here to bring out 2 points that are really needed for ourselves, for our parents at our schools, And one of them is the accessibility of translation, which in the past has not been accessible to Whittier parents, and also audio phones to help with translating what is going on here in the meeting.
Ese es el primer punto. El segundo es que venimos aquí para saber la respuesta a la cual la escuela Whittier, que está en un nivel 1 más, no ha sido asignada como una escuela magna, donde puedan venir estudiantes de todo el sur. Hasta ahorita nosotros hemos cumplido con lo que se ha requerido y nos hemos dado cuenta y nos han dicho que no ha sido asignada todavía la escuela Whittier como escuela magna, para que otras personas, otros padres puedan venir a traer a sus hijos a esa escuela.
The second point is that we've been waiting, and we do not know why Whittier Dual Language Elementary School has not been elevated to the magnet status, where it could bring more students from the south side of Chicago to be part of the Whittier School population.
Por último, le queremos hacer la invitación al presidente Clark, a la señora Garza y al señor Guzmán, una invitación a nuestra escuela para que se reúna con todos los padres y nos dé una explicación por la cual no ha sido asignada a nuestra escuela. Esperemos que en 2 semanas puedan tener una respuesta para que nos den el respeto a todos los padres de que nos digan por lo cual no ha sido asignada a la escuela como escuela magna.
We invite President Clark, Ms. Chavez, Ms. Garza, and Mr. Guzman to come to our school within the next 2 weeks to meet with our parents. Parents have many issues, and one is mainly to find out why our school has not been designated as a magnet school.
Espero que estas palabras no queden nada más aquí y tengamos una respuesta de ustedes y su apoyo. Gracias.
Muchas gracias. Hopefully our questions have not just remained in this room and that we will be able to find out, get some answers soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
They have one additional speaker, Erlinda Arriaga, please.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Erlinda Arriaga. He tenido el gusto de conocer a algunos de ustedes. He sido parte de Health School, soy de la escuela Talcott. Tiempo estoy apoyando mucho a la escuela Whittier porque todas las escuelas tenemos que unirnos como padres que estamos ahorita en padres de liderazgo.
Good afternoon. My name is Erlinda Arriaga. This is the first time that she comes here and to meet everybody here. She is, what school? What is Estalco? She is from Estalco School, elementary school, but she has been involved very much in supporting the Whittier parents.
Y esta vez vengo apoyando a ellas porque en realidad yo estoy siempre en eso con padres. Mis padres de mi escuela también están en lo mismo. Creo que con estos recortes y con estas situaciones que tenemos en las escuelas, tenemos que tener más apoyo sobre lo de arte, que es lo que también tiene Whittier, lo que tiene de coro. Tiene muchos apoyos para los niños, recursos, que lo principal creo que nos tendríamos que poner a pensar y ojalá quisiera, como dicen, tener su apoyo para poder tener esta reunión con ustedes en la escuela Whittier, porque también nuestra escuela va a apoyar a esta situación que tienen ellos.
Her school and Whittier School, parents have everything in common. Many of her parents from her school have been participating with Whittier parents and students. Whittier School has chorus, they have music and other arts. And so the parents from Estalco it'll have very much in common with the Whittier parents, and they will continue to be involved with them, and especially with the situation or the status of magnet school, that the parents are also very much involved in wanting to have more information on and support.
Muchas gracias y yo sé que todos estamos creo que en la misma página para saber el bienestar de nuestros hijos y sobre todo que ellos no estén en las calles o estén en cosas que no deberían de estar. Entonces creo que ese sería un buen propósito para todos, estar ahí apoyando a nuestros estudiantes, a nuestros hijos.
We thank you for all your support, and we know, hopefully, that we're in the same page where we want our students to excel in education and not be involved in the streets with gang, excuse me, with gang elements and all. So we hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. As the next speaker approaches the podium, Mr. President, that's Andrea Smith. I will call speaker number 37, please, Beata Wilkowitz, followed by speaker 41, Vanessa Scott Thompson, then speaker 43, Stephen Todd.
Hello to all of the board members. My name is Andrea Smith, and I am a special education teacher at Young Women's and a case manager. While I am pleased to report that I have been hired to become the new dean of Young Women of the Young Women STEM program at Perspectives IIT Math and Science Academy for the upcoming school year, I am extremely sad to see the closure of the place that I have called home for the last 2 years. I'm so grateful, though, that the legacy of what was created at Young Women's will carry on at Perspectives Math and Science Academy. The STEM program will continue to provide unique, all-girls spaces for our young women students while also getting them access to a much broader range of programs and services than we have today. I'm therefore requesting that the board approve the recommendation to increase the enrollment of MSA by 80 students to accommodate the young women students' move to this new STEM program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Our next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Beata Olankowicz. I am a mom and LSC member at Wilma Rural Center. And I'm here to ask for additional funding for our school. Our school is very special, literally and figuratively speaking. It hosts a population of severe and profound children, and we moved from old Wilma to new Wilma, and we coexist with Hope Institute. And the school is great, but we need additional funding for providing sinks in all the classrooms and getting a ramp a little bit more up to date. Our children spend a lot of time moving up and down from first to second floor, and our school is small. It's not only 94 children, but 42 of our children are wheelchair bound. We also, at the old facility, had an adaptive playground, which we don't have anymore. So I am here to ask for additional money if you can help us and try to make it better. I also would like to thank, because we found out yesterday that the school got extension to 8th grade, so we're very thankful. That's all I have. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please. Vanessa Scott Thompson, please.
Good afternoon, Dr. Vanessa Scott Thompson, Principal of Young Women's. Standing beside me is Kim Waller, the Board Chair. Young Women's Leadership Charter School was founded in 1999 by a committee of 23 women, business and civic leaders to create an excellent and empowering space for young women in Chicago to explore STEM careers and develop their leadership skills. We have helped over 500 alumni go on to successful careers that are embedded in our 4 pillars: academic excellence, career and college preparation, leadership, and personal and social development. However, despite these successes, over the past few years, we have seen a significant decline in our enrollment and in our funding. So when you couple our enrollment with the volatility in funding from CPS, it has eliminated our ability to provide a quality education. Therefore, we are requesting the voluntary closure of our school at the end of this school year. While we are sad, we are very fortunate that Prospectus Charter Schools has agreed to develop the Young Women's STEM program at their Math and Science Academy in Bronzeville on 36 and Wabash, so that our girls can continue the STEM path in a very familiar environment and community. We are also asking that CPS provide the Young Women's Scholars with transition funding that was provided to the scholars whose schools have closed in the past. Young Women's currently serves 33% students with special education, 93% are free and reduced lunch, and over 98% of our students are of color. Therefore, while our girls are very vulnerable, they still deserve the best resources possible as they make this tough transition to their new school for the fall of 2019. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Our next speaker, please, Stephen Todd, last call. Moving on to the next speakers, we'll have speaker number 46, please, Angelica Herrera, followed by speaker 55, Eduardo Aguilar. We will then have speaker number 47, Dwayne Crockett, followed by speaker 48, David Fields, speaker 50, Ardothius McDowell, and speaker 57, Calvina Thurman. Ms. Herrera?
Yes, hello, my name is Angelica. And first of all, I want to thank CEO Dr. Jackson, Dr. McDade, and Ms. Rivera for investing in Peck School. We are very happy and excited about our children finally receiving a lunchroom after asking for 1 year after year. Our children will finally be able to go to a cafeteria and leave their classroom to eat lunch. We really appreciate you listening to our needs and investing in our community. Your leadership is very much appreciated by us in our community, and we are very hopeful to see more CPS success through your leadership. Now, I am asking as a parent of a fourth grader, on behalf of all of our parents, I am proud to say that Peck School has been recognized nationally as the only advanced EdSTEM certified elementary school in the nation and has recently been granted a CPS STEM program focus. CPS is investing in STEM Peck, and we want our children to benefit from it as much as they can. Peck has built a strong STEM foundation in our children, and we want them to continue building that foundation for 1 more year. We see our children growing academically and are asking to allow our fourth graders to complete fifth grade at Peck. We are requesting to change Peck to a pre-K to fifth grade school to help our children build a solid STEM foundation before going to Richardson for sixth grade. We will continue to maintain our level 1+ CPS school status with our support of our leaderships. Peck has proven over and over again to excel in our social, emotional learning, academics, STEM, brought in several partners to collaborate with them. That is why Peck has proven academics. We love, the consistent work we are seeking place with our children in Peck, and we will even more to see them complete their pre-K to fifth elementary education at Peck and move on to Richardson for middle school. We have the space and qualified teachers to help carry on the STEM vision with our fifth graders. We just need your approval to help give our children the most effective and rewarding education through fifth grade. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Herrera. The next speaker, please, Eduardo Aguilar.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Eduardo Aguilar, vengo de la Escuela Peck. Estoy aquí para darle las gracias a CEO, doctora Jackson, doctora McDade, el señor Rivera, por invertir en la Escuela Peck. Estamos muy contentos y entusiasmados de que nuestros hijos hayan recibido un comedor después de haber consultado año tras año. Nuestros hijos finalmente podrán ir a una cafetería y salir de su salón para almorzar. Realmente apreciamos que hayan escuchado nuestras necesidades e invertir en nuestra comunidad. Su liderazgo es muy apreciado por nosotros y en nuestra comunidad, y tenemos muchas esperanzas de ver más éxitos de CPS a través de su liderazgo. Permitir que nuestros niños de cuarto grado continúen con quinto grado en la Escuela Peck. Como padre de cuarto grado, en nombre de todos nuestros padres, me enorgullece decir que la Escuela Peck ha sido reconocida a nivel nacional como la única escuela primaria certificada STEAM, Advanced ED STEAM en la nación, y recientemente se le ha otorgado el enfoque del programa STEAM de CPS. Invirtiendo en STEAM y en Peck, y queremos que nuestros hijos se beneficien de él tanto como puedan. Peck ha construido una sólida base STEAM para nuestros hijos y queremos que continúen construyendo esta base por muchos años. Vemos en nuestros hijos y queremos crecer académicamente y pedimos que nuestros alumnos de cuarto grado completen el quinto grado en Peck. Estamos solicitando cambiar PEC a una escuela de pre-kinder a 5º grado para ayudar a nuestros niños a construir una base sólida de STEAM antes de ir a la Richardson para su 6º grado. Continuaremos manteniendo nuestro estado escolar de nivel 1+ con el apoyo de nuestro liderazgo. PEC ha demostrado una y otra vez que destaca en el aprendizaje socioemocional académico. STEAM ha traído a varios socios para colaborar e incluso transformando nuestra escuela en una escuela saludable y educa a nuestra comunidad sobre estilo de vida saludables. Nos encanta el trabajo constante que vemos cuando completan su educación primaria de pre-kinder a 5º en la PEC y se mudan a Richardson para la escuela intermedia. Tenemos el espacio y maestros calificados para ayudar adelante la visión de STEAM con nuestros alumnos de 5º grado. Solo necesitamos su aprobación para ayudar a que nuestros hijos reciban la educación más efectiva y gratificante hasta el 5º grado. Muchas gracias.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dwayne D. Crockett, and I'm here from the behalf of Joyner Smith School. What I'd like to know is, I heard the school supposed to be getting torn down for demolition. And my one reason wants to know for what code violation. And if you have a code violation, why you still have people in the building utilize it? But the other thing is, for special ed, they're supposed to have a certain amount of money for the kids over there in that school. They're not getting it. But 300 million or 600 million. Another question is, if they're not supposed to be utilizing the school, how the fire department is using it? And filming and having lunch with the kids, they can't go in there. They got to go in the auditorium from 3rd, 5th, and 7th grade to be taught their education. Okay. I mean, it don't make sense to me. If it's under code violation, ain't nobody supposed to be in there, not even the fire department. So how they can use the building, but the kids can't use it? And you want to tear it down for demolition? For what, for a parking lot? Kids need somewhere to stay. If you ain't got use for the kids, you can put the building for something else, better than a parking lot for somebody to park. But also, I have a piece of paper here that we requested to have a meeting with Mr. Frank Clark here, and he has not responded since August 27th, 2018. Okay, not once, not twice, but 6, 7 times. So I'm still would like to know when can we have this meeting and find out what is the code values for the school to be torn down for the people to know. And then the faculty over in the school don't come out in the community. So how the residents supposed to know what's going on? You're supposed to send somebody out just like the postman send you something out, let you know your post is going to be changed, is this, that, and that. We don't get no kind of literature like that. You know, that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crockett. Their next speaker is David Fields, speaker 48, please.
Good afternoon, President Clark and the board. My name is David Fields. I had the opportunity to address you all back in February. After addressing you all, there were 3 documents that were given out for your perusing and your consideration. One of those documents were a prospective analysis of a budget for Bernice Joyner Fields Child Parenting Center. The second one was a mission statement from Bernice Joyner Fields' family. And the third one was a list of curricula and activities to take place in that center, in that child parenting center, if it was allowed to stay. Now, I'm quite sure that those 3 documents were given very, very close consideration upon being read. So right now, what we're asking and waiting on is to find out from President Clark, when will we have the opportunity of having a sit-down meeting with you concerning those 3 documents and Bernice Joyner Fields Child Parenting Center?
Thank you. Any other speakers on this?
Yes, sir. There's 2 additional speakers, please.
Ms. Hall.
Thank you. The next speaker then is speaker 57, Calvina Thurman, please.
Yes, sir.
No. Ardothius McDowell. Speaker number 50, please.
President Clark,
esteemed board members, CEO Jackson, Chief McDade. Good afternoon. My name is Adorthus McDowell. This is the Smith Joyner community who stayed through the meeting. Also, I want to thank you for your service these past years for all of our children. Now, Mr. Clark, we're standing here with you. You have the written request on your desk. Do we have a response or do we have not a response, sir?
I want to let you.
Does that require a response?
Yeah, I want you to finish your statement.
I'm done.
Oh, okay. My office will get back to you.
When?
As soon as possible.
Okay. We met with Katie Ellis.
I'm sorry?
We met with Katie Ellis last week.
Yes.
And I'm sure she briefed you on the particulars as well as the extraordinary items up for discussion as far as the administrative leadership of Smith Elementary School and the fact that there is no community hearing taking place, the fact that there has been no walkthrough taking place, the fact that there's $800,000 in outstanding repairs at Joyner that need to be addressed immediately, and why can't that be done over the past 12 years by the Chicago Public Schools? Sir, with all due respect, we're standing for a response.
It's not as if you haven't gotten a response. You haven't gotten the response you want, and I understand the difference. I also understand why you continue to want to have additional meetings. We've worked with the principal and the community, and none of these things were done arbitrarily. I understand you do not agree with them, and apparently you don't agree with the local principal. But this has not been anything other than an open process. But I'm aware of everything you've said, and Katie, in fact, has briefed me. Thank you very much for your comments, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our next speaker then will be Speaker 51, Louis Peister, followed by Speaker 52, Elaine Bowie, and the last speaker, Speaker 58, Lahana Giles.
Good afternoon. I'll do it by sound bites, lack of time. First of all, thank you for taking care of renaming the school for Ed Sadlowski. Thank you for that, making the change about Columbus Day with indigenous people. Next, charter school parents have to be over 50,000. That's more than the CTU, SEIU. They are a political force. And sometimes did an article the other day about the unions, and at the end part about the charter school network. So keep that all in the back of your mind. I would suggest that you release some money so that they can pay the bills by the end of June. Beyond that, they may be out of luck, all right, on some of that. I would strongly suggest that some of you, whoever remains Board of Education members or don't remain, talk to the new people that are going to be brought in so they understand what you guys have gone through, the sings of arrows or whatever it is, and it was extremely important that the mayor, the present mayor, put two former principals on this board. That was a breakthrough. So when people said, oh, they don't understand the school system, they understood the school system, they understood its full well. And I think that needs to be pointed out to the new mayor, that she needs to have principals on this Board of Education, as well as some people over here that work for the schools. Next, that she needs to, Dr. Jackson, continue the conversations who's ever president of the CTU. There's an election on May 17th. That may explain some of the rhetoric you heard earlier. And that conversation has to resolve problems, not sound bites.
Mr. Peister?
Come on. All right. Got to meet with the IG. All that thing with sexual harassment.
I know that everything you say is...
one last thing.
No, let me finish.
Okay.
I know everything you say has value. I just need you to wrap it up, though, okay? Say what you think is the
I
most
will
important.
wrap it up, and it will be when I assume the new mayor is going to sit down, is that the phrase, with Dr. Jackson, and she should go through the staffing, the pipeline for minority teachers, the different staffing, because the funding, remember, the funding you guys will have, you don't know you have it until the end of May, when they finish in Springfield. So for someone to say, hey, well, how many school nurses? You don't know any of that and how many you can get, how many social workers you can get, some realistic numbers, and you need to tell the narrative, as you did with the charter schools when they talked about the funding. You need to make sure you do the narrative instead of people sitting in this audience like myself doing the narrative. You got to make sure you tell the message. And if you're hiring, you're doing things, tell it. Don't wait until I scream at you at a meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peister. The next speaker, please, 52, Elaine Bovee. Last call. We'll call Lahana Giles, and then, Mr. President, I'm sorry, I omitted calling one speaker. 31, Heather Miller will follow Mr. Giles. Last call. Heather Miller.
Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Miller, and I'm the Executive Director of the American Indian Center here in Chicago, and I'm an enrolled member of the Wyandotte Nation from Oklahoma. I want to start today with just a few facts to help set the stage for my remarks. First and foremost, I want to say thanks to the folks of the Council of the Three Fires. This is their traditional territory, so I thank them for allowing us to be here today. But here in Chicago, we've been home to several different tribes, and today we have a majority of American Indian folks living off of reservations here in urban areas, and in Chicago alone, we have the third largest urban Indian population in the entire country, and we're home to the first urban Indian center in the entire country. So the American Indians have always been here on this land, and we always will be. Knowing that, we have a really large, teeny tiny minority here that is asking us to deal with issues of misrepresentation, erasure, and misconstruing of our histories. Our next generation of youth are calling on us to find ways to accurately tell the history of the founding of America. So through our work at the American Indian Center, we have the opportunity to teach organizations and institutions ways to provide more accurate views of history. Over the last few years, our team has been working with NAME Illinois, CPS Title VI employees, as well as the other members of the American Indian Center to collect over 3,000 signatures in support of our petition. And we've been working with you all to help change the holiday currently known as Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. On April 9th, we met with board members Ms. Alex Garza and Ms. Katie Ellis, where we submitted a hard copy of the letter from ISB. You guys should have that. Just saying that it would not be a violation of the school code to change the holiday. A vote today on the recommended amendment is a great first step to creating a more equitable and safe place for our American Indian students in CPS schools. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Mr. President, this completes the speakers.
Board members, are there any questions or comments? Okay, if there are no questions or comments, do we have a motion?
Yes. I move for the passage of motion number 19-0424-M01 and the commencement of a closed session to consider matters permitted under Section 2C of the Open Meetings Act, subsections 1, 2, 5, 6, 8, 10, 11, and 21, as specified in the motion.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. I'll proceed with a roll call. Member Furlong?
Yes.
Member Garza?
Yes.
Vice President Guzman?
Yes.
Member Dr. Hines?
Yes.
Member Ward?
Yes.
Member Goolsby?
Yes.
And President Clark?
Yes.
We have 7 ayes and 0 nays.
This meeting will go into closed session. The meeting of the Board of Education is reconvened. Madam Secretary, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will start with closed session items from the General Counsel, and I will begin with new and continued council retentions. These items do require a vote. The first report, authorized retention of the law firm Masters Law for new. Second report, authorized continued retention of the law firm Neal and Leroy LLC. The third report, authorized continued retention of the law firm of Delgado Group LLC. The fourth report, authorized continued retention of the law firm Hinshaw and Culbertson LLP. Fifth report, authorized continued retention of the law firm Jackson Lewis PC. Sixth report, authorized continued retention of the law office of Sabrina L. Haig. And the seventh report, authorized continued retention of the Soto's law firm PC. Mr. President, these items do require a vote.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. I'll proceed with a roll call. Member Furlong.
Yes.
Member Garza.
Yes.
Vice President Guzman.
Yes.
Member Dr. Hines.
Yes.
Member Ward.
Yes.
Member Goolsby.
Yes.
And President Clark.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays. I will continue with settlements, and these items do require a vote. The first report is the workers' compensation payment for lump sum settlement for Jane E. Kaniski, case number 05WC21576 and 08WC019681. The second report is workers' compensation payment for lump sum settlement for Corrine Rink, case number 09WC021938, and the third report, workers' compensation payment for lump sum settlement for Rita Nellum, case number 17WC010014. The fourth report is the workers' compensation payment for lump sum settlement for Judith Chuckman, case number 16WZ004904, and the fifth report, personal injury, authorized payment of settlement for Zelda C. Roberts, independent administrator of the estate of Demetrius LaShawn Martin, Jr., deceased, case number 16L005884. Mr. President, these items do require a vote.
If there are no objections from my fellow board members, please apply the last favorable roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll continue with law personnel matters, and these items do require a vote. We have the first report, appoint ethics advisor, Department of Law, Brian F. Kamner. The second report, transfer and appoint senior assistant general counsel, Department of Law, Kashisha Williams Ford. The third report, appoint assistant general counsel, Department of Law, Helena B. White. Fourth report, transfer and appoint deputy general counsel, Department of Law, Libby N. Massey. Fifth report, appoint assistant general counsel, Department of Law, Samuel Shea. And the sixth report, appoint assistant general counsel, Department of Law, Alice Sparks. Mr. President, these items do require a vote.
If there are no objections from my fellow board members, please apply the last favorable roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll continue with items from the Chief Executive Officer, and I will proceed with warning resolutions, and these items do require a vote. We have the first report, warning resolution, Christina Pashos, tenured teacher assigned to Mariano Azuela Elementary School, and the second report, warning resolution, Sean Mead, special education teacher assigned to Nancy B. Jefferson School. Mr. President, these items do require a vote.
If there are no objections from my fellow board members, please apply the last favorable roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will continue with items from the board, and these items do require a vote. We have the first report, resolution by the Board of Education of the City of Chicago regarding the dismissal of Shirley Haskin, tenured teacher assigned to Orville T. Bright Elementary School. And the second report is the resolution approving the Chief Executive Officer's recommendation to dismiss educational support personnel. We then have the third report, resolution approving the Chief Executive Officer's recommendation to dismiss probationary appointed teachers. And for the record, Mr. President, I would like to note that on April 19, 2019, the board members and the office of the board received the CEO's recommendation to dismiss probationary appointed teachers pursuant to Board Rule 4-1 and 105 ILCS 5/34-84. Her recommendation included the names of the teachers affected and the reasons, and she also noted that the teachers affected will be notified of their dismissal after adoption of the resolution. And Mr. President, these items do require a vote.
If there are no objections from my fellow board members, please apply the last favorable roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I believe Vice President Guzman has a motion, please.
Yes, I move that the board adopt the minutes of the closed session meeting of March 27th, 2019, per section 2.06 of the Open Meetings Act. Board members reviewed these minutes and determined that the need for confidentiality exists. Therefore, the minutes of the closed session meeting held on March 27th, 2019, shall be maintained as confidential and not available for public inspection.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. I'll proceed with a roll call. Member Furlong?
Yes.
Member Garza?
Yes.
Vice President Guzman?
Yes.
Member Dr. Hines?
Yes.
Member Ward?
Yes.
Member Goolsby?
Yes.
And President Clark?
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays, and I believe Board Member Furlong has a motion, please.
I move that the record of proceedings of the regular board meeting of March 27, 2019, prepared by the board secretary, be approved, and that such records of proceedings be posted on the Chicago Board of Education website in accordance with Section 2.06B of the Open Meetings Act.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. I'll proceed with a roll call. Member Furlong?
Yes.
Member Garza?
Yes.
Vice President Guzman?
Yes.
Member Dr. Hines?
Yes.
Member Ward?
Yes.
Member Goolsby?
Yes.
And President Clark?
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays. Mr. President, I will continue with items on the public agenda and only read the board report numbers since the titles and board reports appeared on the public agenda. I will begin with resolutions, and these items do require a vote. We have RS1 and RS2. Mr. President, these items do require a vote.
If there are no objections from my fellow board members, please apply the last favorable roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll continue with a communication. This item does not require a vote. This communication is regarding the location of the May 22nd, 2019 board meeting, and it reads, "This is to advise that the regular meeting of the Board of Education scheduled for Wednesday, May 22nd, 2019, will be held at the CPS Loop Office, 42 West Madison Street, Garden Level Boardroom. The board meeting will begin at 10:30 a.m. Public participation guidelines are available on www.cpsboe.org or by calling the board office at 773-553-1600. For the May 22nd, 2019 board meeting, advance registration to speak and observe will be available beginning Monday, May 20th at 10:30 a.m. and will close on Tuesday, May 21st at 5 p.m. or until all slots are filled. You can advance register during the registration period by the following methods: online, by phone, or in person. To ensure equity of access to address the board, an individual may not speak at 2 consecutive board meetings. In the event an individual registers to speak at a consecutive board meeting, the individual will not be called to address the board. Although advance registration is recommended, you can also register to observe a meeting on the day of the board meeting via same-day in-person observer registration, and the registration times opens at 10:15 in the lobby at 42 West Madison Street. Same-day in-person observer registrations are taken on a first-come, first-served basis as seats become available. The public participation segment of the meeting will begin as indicated on the meeting agenda and proceed for no more than the 60 registered speakers. Mr. President, I will continue with additional items on the public agenda that do require a vote, and we have EX1, 2, 3, and 4. Moving on to EX5, and for the record, I would like to note an abstention for Member Dr. Hines on EX5. Moving on to EX6, we then have EX7, and Mr. President, I would like to note for the record that EX7 for YCCS has been withdrawn from the agenda for EX7. Moving on to EX8, we then have EX9, and for the record, I would like to note an abstention for Member Dr. Hines on EX9. Moving on to ED1, MS1, we then have PR1. And Mr. President, for the record, I would like to note that PR1 for AUSL has been withdrawn from the agenda for PR1, and then I will continue with PR2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We then have PR 13, 14, and 15. And Mr. President, these items do require a vote.
If there are no objections from my fellow board members, please apply the last favorable roll call vote with the noted abstentions.
Thank you, Mr. President. So noted. I will continue with additional items on the public agenda that do not require a vote, and we have EX10, 11, and AR1. And Mr. President, these items just need to be accepted by the board.
Please mark received and filed.
Thank you, Mr. President, and there are no further items on the public agenda.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.